I'm going to start the meeting here now.
Yes, please.
I probably did that a little early because I haven't found my thing yet. But what I will do first is read the preamble, which is pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. This meeting will be conducted in person and as a courtesy via remote means in accordance with applicable law. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public and board members, the meeting/hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless required by law. The members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so by viewing the Duxbury Government Access channels Verizon 39 or Comcast 9. Viewers can visit www.pactv.org/Duxbury for information about Duxbury programming, including streaming on Duxbury YouTube. Excuse me, to watch replays and video on demand. My next order of business, is the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. Let me just give me a second here to get all my stuff up.
Do you want the executive session?
Sorry. Here we go. Okay. Is this the right one, right? No, that is not the right one.
It's the 122. There was a lot of attachments. I'm going to bring that up in a minute.
I have one person on here, Emmett. I don't know.
How come I'm not,
Here. I've combined mine, so it's all.
It's like 12, there's 108.
I wasn't
22,
expecting.
but that's not the.
Sure you had to
It
dwell
should
on
be.
it.
You've got attachments on. There's a million attachments.
I know.
They're not there.
Yeah.
Oh, there they are.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
They're not in order. That's the
No, I
problem.
know, I have them sort of.
Oh. I spent an hour doing that too.
Oh, well, I have these things ordered too. All right, so, good evening, sir.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Well, thank you.
Good. All right, so the first, we're going to go into executive session. Are we all?
I have
Is
one
that for that?
person attendee, Emmett, but if he's not part of
No, I
Affordable
don't.
Housing Trust or anything, he needs to
No.
leave. No, he needs to leave the meeting and come back at 7.
Okay.
Because if I take him out, he won't be able to come back.
Just Emmett?
Emmett, yes,
So Emmett needs to leave.
yes.
We're doing an executive session, and you can come back at 7. If you don't,
He's
All
gone.
set.
Okay.
you're gone. Okay.
Diane Bartlett's there and Martha Hines is there.
Okay.
But they're
Where's
just,
he
they're
there?
listening.
Yep,
I
that's
think.
fine. That's fine. Okay, Amy, do you
I
want to
move
do
we
the?
go into executive session for the following purposes: to discuss prospective litigation strategies, since an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the town, and if the chair so declares in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21, and that the Select Board will adjourn immediately after the completion of this executive session and will convene an open session on or about 7 p.m.
As chair, I declare the necessity for an executive session to discuss prospective litigation strategy, as to do so in open session may have a detrimental effect on the town's strategizing and litigating position.
Second.
We need a roll call vote.
Brian, aye.
Michael, I.
Fernando, aye.
Amy, aye.
Cindy, aye. Wonderful.
One moment and I'll lock it.
Okay. Start with open forum. What that entails is if you have something you'd like to bring up to inform us with or for us to put on a meeting for another time, now's the time to come up and do that. If you are coming up to the podium, you need to give your name and address. And if you are going to speak, you also need to go to the podium. So anybody on the board have open forum?
Yes, just to advertise the public forum tomorrow evening, 7:30 in the high school. It's all about PFAS, understanding the health risks and solutions, and also an update on the town's PFAS mitigation plan. There's 2 articles coming in this annual town meeting, so it'll be very informative, and look forward to seeing as many people there as possible.
Yeah, I'm sorry, did you say where it was?
Yes, at the Duxbury High School.
The Duxbury High School?
Duxbury High School in the presentation hall
In Presentation Hall at what
at
time?
7 p.m.
At
tomorrow.
7 p.m., and that's going to also be recorded?
I believe so. They're trying to get that set up for recording.
That's it, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep,
Just on this end. I attended the Mass Municipal Association Conference Friday and Saturday. Some folks from Town Hall were there as well. And I just wanted to point out, I was pleased and delighted, frankly, to receive a number of compliments by folks, both vendors and municipal officials elsewhere. And I should say that there are 351 communities in the Commonwealth, and I think pretty much representatives from almost all of them were there. So there were thousands of people. And as I went through the trade show and through the programs, folks not only told me how much they appreciate Duxbury generally, but there were some people who were named in particular, and I want to recognize them now as being superstars, recognized by their peers, that brought to me saying, wow, you're really lucky to have this person, that person. Of course, we all know that sitting here, but it's all great to hear from the other side. And those included Town Manager Rainey Reed, Finance Director Mary McKinnon, Jeannie Horn from HR, Joanne Moore from the Council of Aging, and our Veteran Service Officer, Sarah Lansing. All of them mentioned by name. So I thought that was remarkable, and I just wanted to bring that up to share with all of you.
Thanks, Mike.
thanks, Brian. Anybody from the general audience? No. What?
I thought there was something there, but.
Oh, yeah, anybody on Zoom land have anything? All right, we have, huh?
There are no hands up.
Okay, so we have a couple of minutes yet before we have our posted fee hearing. So,
Move some minutes.
let's do some minutes. Let's see. The minutes of, what do I pull up here, the open session?
I forgot to give Nancy, I did have some minor edits, but I forgot to give them to her.
From 11/20/23, are they just minor typo type
It was
things?
minor as to one of the comments that I made regarding the budget that I wanted to elaborate on for the minutes. So if you want to do them as amended, but I need to amend, I need to give her my
Okay,
amendments.
and that's on the open session, so we can do that next time?
Yep,
Okay. How about the executive session minutes then?
I had no changes to those.
There weren't
There were
any.
not-
There
weren't
weren't.
any.
There weren't any.
That's why
No,
no
that's why there's no
changes in
changes,
them.
That's why
yeah.
there's no changes to that. Okay, look at that, it's 7:05.
There we
There
go.
you go.
All right, perfect.
All right, let me get back on that, okay. So, we need to, so we have today's fee hearing was advertised in the Duxbury Clipper on January 3rd and January 10th. The proposed fee increases were reviewed by the Fiscal Advisory Committee at their meetings on December 6th and 11th, 2023, and they unanimously voted in favor of the proposed fee increases. Amy, do you want to open the public hearing?
I move that the Select Board open the public hearing regarding proposed fee changes for the following departments: Assessors, Cemetery, Council on Aging, Fire, Police, Town Clerk, and Water.
Second.
Okay, a roll call vote, please.
Brian, aye.
Michael, aye.
Fernando, aye.
Amy, aye.
Cindy, aye. Okay, so the first on my list is the assessors. And is there somebody from the assessors?
Sure.
Mary.
Everybody. So if you look at the proposed list of fees from the assessors, they are actually not increasing any fees. The proposal being brought before you is to eliminate 3 of the fees that exist in the current schedule. The reason that these fees are being eliminated, the first 2, the detailed property data listing, those reports no longer exist in the version of the software that we are currently running from the Vision system. And given the fact that the town has all of their maps and GIS layers available online, people can access this data on their own. So we're proposing to eliminate that. The third one is a GIS data CD, and nobody burns CDs anymore. So
Even if you have them, you can't.
we don't even have the technology in-house right now to even burn a
Burn
CD.
the
So
software, too.
again, the online
Okay.
systems replace those features.
Okay, all right. Do we want to vote these all separately or all together?
I think you should do them separate.
Okay, is there any questions about the assessor's fee?
No.
So I move that should I make a separate motion for each one then? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll move that we eliminate the 3 out of the 9 fees for the assessors.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Brian, aye.
Michael, aye?
Fernando, aye.
Amy, aye.
Cindy, aye. Okay. Next on my list.
Hold up. Oh, what's up?
Sorry, should Amy be abstaining from the vote
Yes.
For the assessors?
Yes.
from the
Oh.
assessors?
Yeah.
I'll abstain.
Thank you. Okay, next on my list is the, excuse me, cemetery. And we have someone here to present the proposed changes.
Chip Lockheady, Superintendent of Cemeteries. Cemetery Department proposes a $25 increase per the standard cremation and a $25 increase for wooden casket cremations. So the standard cremation would go from $275 to $300, and a wooden casket would go from $375 to $400. We chose those fees. Part of it was based on our competition. North of us, we have 2 crematories that one will be the same price as us, and one will still be cheaper than us. And then we have a crematory south of us, which will be more money than us.
So you have, there's 2 north of us that are be less expensive?
One will be less, and we'll be the same price as the other one.
But less, significantly less, Chip?
So they're at $285. We'll be at $300.
Okay.
What are the 2 that are north? The St. Michael's, and who's the other?
Blue Hill.
Blue Hill, okay. And what's their charge,
Blue
285?
Hill is $285.
Okay, because St. Michael's 300.
300.
Right, yeah.
And one of our bigger clients is from the Boston area. They average around at least 30 a month that we get. So I have to be careful on, I don't want to lose them.
Okay.
So is there any fear of losing them to Blue Hill?
No, not if, with the prices that I'm going up, we'll be okay.
Okay, I had a question about the wooden casket cremation, because I think you said something about the potential of discouraging the use by
It has, so fiscal year 2023, I created a extra fee for the wooden caskets, and it has slowed down the amount of wooden caskets we get.
Okay, and so do you think that by increasing it more, I mean, is it you're bang for your buck, you know, is it, if we don't get that many, are we gonna discourage them altogether and lose, you know, for 25 bucks more?
So wooden caskets, for us, they're very time-consuming, and they do use more natural gas. So, no, I don't think it will discourage everyone, because it's a family preference. Some like the, do a service, and then they bring the wooden casket right to us. So I don't think we'll lose a lot, but at the same time, we don't get that many now that it would be a worry for me.
Okay.
So you're not discouraging the use for environmental purposes, or you're discouraging the use, why? And the use as opposed to what
I'm discouraging the use because it's time consuming, so it slows, it cuts down how many we can use in that. It restricts that unit to how many we can cremate in it per day.
Okay, and what's the alternative to wooden?
Most come in what's called a cremate. They have a cremation container that most come in. It's almost like a cardboard box with a wooden bottom support. Or you can actually buy, they're called cloth-covered caskets. They're more like a cardboardy material. But it's a family preference, so I can't,
Right.
I don't,
Go ahead.
can't tell people what to do.
Right, but Chip, you also mentioned that it obviously consumes more gas, right?
Yes.
More,
So it
there's
is
there's a cost as well.
environmental.
So there's more, it
Environmental.
is more environmentally
Yeah.
responsible to use the cardboard,
Yes.
cloth covered or otherwise.
Correct.
Anybody else, Brian?
Just a couple of questions on that. So, as I understand, most of the cremations are non-residents, right? So we're
Yes.
bringing business in from outside
Yes.
the town, and as I've pontificated, I guess, is probably the right way to say it, this is one of the few areas that the town has an opportunity to generate revenue. And even though taxes are for that purpose, fees are typically only to compensate the town for expenses. Here, because we're providing a regional service, it seems to me that we need to look hard at these fees, and I appreciate that you're going up. What I want to press you on a little bit is the business. I know we can't get into collusion with other providers and that sort of thing, and I wouldn't suggest we do such a thing, but I am interested in exploring a little more of how we know that $25 is the right number, where, again, we're providing a service to the industry in a fairly large range of communities. And I guess I just want to find out a little more how we arrived at the 25. I know it's not an exact science, but why not, 30, 40, I want to push it as far as we can, because the other piece, and I want to ask you about this as well, is I understand some of the retorts are going to need refurbishing, so one or more in the not-too-distant future that we're going to have to pay for.
We're looking at refurbishing, every few years you have to refurbish the floors, which we usually have the money in our budget that we can cover that. There's an line item in my budget for crematory repairs, so we take it out of that. As far as where we came up with that number, we went up, as I said, $25 in fiscal year 2023. And then we got hit with the natural gas contract that went up significantly. So we had to take that into account, and I didn't want to lose money, so we had to go up to 25 to offset that fee increase. The 2023, we also went up to 25, so within 1-2 fiscal years, it will be an average of almost 140,000 more that we're bringing in.
And how does that relate to our costs over that period of time?
So our costs, I have some of it right here. During a recent month, it cost us $20,000 roughly for natural gas and electricity. We brought in $61,200 in revenue. And then for staffing, it cost $11,000. And I also had a rough estimate for the supplies, which I think was roughly around 500.
We're still generating more revenue, but that pays for the retorts, of which the retorts is, I know it's in the budget, but retorts in the order of, I seem to remember in the, around 140,000?
Yeah, I'm not looking to do a full rebuild. We're just looking at repairing the floors right now.
Right.
And that's roughly around $9,000 a floor.
Oh, right. Okay, the last time we had the finance committee
That was a whole rebuild.
It's a whole rebuild,
Everything
okay.
was jackhammered out and
Right, okay.
refurbished.
So,
But the idea here is to be generating enough revenue and with our fees
Yep.
that would cover the cost of the eventual need to replace
Yes.
the retorts. So we're always looking to the future to have the money in the budget from what we're collecting now.
right.
Yeah, but I also think there needs to be some incentive for the town to be in this business, right?
Yeah.
Rather than just covering our costs.
Absolutely.
Right? So I certainly appreciate the $25. I think that's at the floor where we should be. And I think we need to be open to future increases. And I realize we did increases in the past, but again, this is one of the few places where we can potentially derive revenue. I'd like to keep an eye on it.
Absolutely, I agree, and we do monitor our competitors. I monitor my supplies, what I pay. I've actually switched to other suppliers because they're cheaper. So we try to keep our costs down as much as possible also to help out.
Great. And you have a beautiful facility, and I hear great things all the time about how wonderful the service is and how attentive and that sort of thing. So we do a terrific job, and I want you to be compensated for all the hard work that you and your team do.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Fernando?
Yeah, I just want to ask Mary a question, actually, with regards to this topic about fees, right? That a municipality can charge for services, right? My understanding is that we're not about making a profit, right? We're about covering our expenses. So I'm just wondering, this previous conversation implied that we could maybe make some money here. So how does that fit in with, is that allowable, or am I misunderstanding the basic concepts about how fees are calculated and the basis by which that happens?
So there's a wide berth of philosophies
Okay.
regarding taxes versus fees.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the community can do whatever they choose in terms of setting fees.
Okay.
With the exception of those fees that are called out in Mass General Law. So
Right.
there are some fees that I would actually like to increase, for example, in the Treasurer Collector's Office, but I'm unable to do so because those fees are set in Mass General Law. However, for other services where there is no provision in the statutes, towns are free to set them at whatever level you wish. However, there's best practices, and even within this community, there's widely differing opinions
Right.
about whether setting a fee should be covering just the immediate costs or whether those fees should also be factoring in future capital costs. Part of the conversation I just heard within the last few minutes suggests that the cemetery fees should be covering all future capital costs. And I would caution you to some degree, because the town has not opted to operate the cemetery as an enterprise fund. The town has opted to incorporate this as part of our general fund activities,
Right.
meaning it is a service that we will support in our general fund operations. Therefore, our intent is not necessarily to set fees to cover all costs. If that were the case, then I would be proposing that we should be looking at an enterprise fund.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
So you're not suggesting that
I personally would love to maximize our fees and maximize our revenue, because
Right.
for some of these services, they are not services that are necessarily enjoyed by the broad range of folks who live in this community.
Correct.
They are specialty services. I think we're going to hear about some of them, for example. I'll pick on poor Chief Reardon. So ambulance services. Not everybody in the community ever has a need to call the ambulance, but we as a community want to know that the ambulance is here for
Right.
our neighbors, right? Not everybody in this community is going to take advantage of crematory services or even utilize the cemetery. They may have other plans. So some of the services that we provide are specialty and are geared only for certain members of our community. In those cases, I would love to maximize fees. However, I think what you're hearing from Chip, and we need to be very sensitive to it, is that there's a business model. And most of the business that Chip receives is through funeral homes. And so when a funeral home is preparing their business models and looking to which crematories they want to do business with, we want to be competitive. we don't want to make a decision that's going to harm a funeral home who is providing at least 30 events per month, and we then hurt ourselves by raising our fees too dramatically. So I think it's been responsible that we've raised those fees in 2023. We're now raising them again in 2024, and we're going to keep a close eye on it in terms of both the business model as well as the increased costs that we know we're bearing with respect to natural gas. So it will be on the table again.
What would be the downside of creating that is an enterprise fund?
So the downside would be that the $1 million worth of revenue that comes into the general fund right now would no longer come into the general fund and would go straight over to the enterprise.
And it could not be transferred into the general fund? There's no way to, it would only be able to be used for...
Correct. What you're talking about is setting up a business activity that is self-supporting, just like our water enterprise or our rock enterprise, that the revenue that they generate would no longer support our general fund operations, and that all of the revenue that they would generate would be retained within that business activity.
It could also be very volatile to market swings. One of the things that Chip has to do here, and he and I have had lengthy discussions on this, is he has to find the sweet spot in the market, and he's found it. He knows what the price of his competitors is. He knows where the low end is. He knows where the high end is, and he's looking for that midpoint. Beyond that, the dollars are one thing. It's the product that he sells, and Chip is part of the product. It's not just the fact that it's a Duxbury facility, but it's what that facility is, and more importantly, because of the relationships he has with the funeral homes and the funeral directors, it's who's in it. And because he's in it, they want to stick with him, because he's part of the product that he sells, and that's a huge, huge factor here. So he knows that these people are going to stay with him, so he's not going to box them out of the price. They won't ride with him on a high price either. They're also business people. But he knows where the sweet spot is. He's found it, and he's the guy out in front of it.
No, and I'm not in any way, suggesting that you're not right on target here. I'm just opening it up to a bigger, because I do think it's fiscally responsible for us to be looking to the future when it comes to the retorts and those other big expenses that hit town meeting, and it's a big expense. So if we can be, planning for those costs, future costs, I think that's the smart way to go. But what I'm hearing is that we have to be careful with that, because it's not an enterprise fund. So, I think somewhere in there we have to balance that as well.
Right.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience that would like to ask a question or a comment? No? All right. We have a motion, Amy?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll move that we accept the fee increases from the cemetery department.
Second.
Roll call.
Brian, aye.
Michael, I.
Fernando, aye.
Amy, aye.
Cindy, aye. All right, thank you very much, Chip.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Chip.
Thank you,
Thank
Bob.
you.
Thank
And
Joe.
Bob.
Thank you very much.
Next in my list is the senior center. And we have Joanne online. Or no, on Zoom, excuse me.
Yep, I'm on Zoom.
On Zoom?
So is it okay for me to go?
Yes, it is.
All right, so we just have a few slight changes in our cafe. And the reason why we changed our pricing structure was we moved from a congregate meal setting to more of a cafe setting. So now things are priced individually, so people can buy things a la carte.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Well, wait a
Of
second.
course.
I'm not seeing any increases.
So we had increased the prices as of July 1, when we reopened the cafe and really expanded our service.
Okay, so what we're looking at then tonight is the cafe, the cost of the à la carte.
Yes.
Okay, and that, it's not an increase or a decrease or anything, it's just a new pricing?
It's a change of the way we're doing service. So
Okay.
previously, you would get one hot meal, now you can get a sandwich, a soup, bag of chips, a dessert. You can buy everything, or you could just buy one thing. So we're giving people more options and flexibility.
Okay, great. Anybody have any questions? Amy?
I do. I would like to make sure that we are covering the costs. I see down here a reference to utilizing OCES grant funds of $14,393 to cover a shortfall. So I want to
Last
be
year, our meal, the amount of meals that we prepared in our kitchen went up by 20%. And so at that point, we didn't plan for as much food and food product. We do have a grant from OCES where we are reimbursed for each meal that we serve at the amount of $3 per meal. So that money goes to underwrite the kitchen assistant salary, but there was money available to cover that shortfall in the line item.
But, so, I'm sorry, and maybe you're answering and I'm not hearing the answer, but what I want to be sure is that the money that is being paid for the food is covering all of the costs associated with buying the food, preparing the food, selling the food, everything to do with the food. And that the resident taxpayers who are not eating this food are not subsidizing the program.
Exactly. So our line item for food is $65,000 and we generated $70,000. So the program's in the black.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, and there's no other changes to your fees for rooms or anything? Okay. All right. Motion, Amy, unless anybody has any other questions?
That's great. There were changes to, no changes to the room
Right.
rentals, right?
No.
Correct, no change.
No.
Okay.
Please ask.
Sorry, I have to ask, Joanne, I'm a bit confused. What is the shortfall? To what?
So last year, when we, our food service line item for the food and food supply, we ended up spending $14,000 extra on food, and we used the grant that we have to underwrite that food. We've increased our food budget because we realized how much our food program had grown in the last year.
Right, okay, so basically it was a temporary shortfall and we're in a good shape now for this coming fiscal year. Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll stop beating the dead horse.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's getting paid for.
Last year there was a shortfall, this year there's not going to be.
Okay,
No.
let's hope not.
Right.
Okay. Ready for a
Motion.
motion? I'll move that we accept the fee increases for the Council on Aging.
Second,
Roll call, please.
Brian, aye.
Michael, I.
Nando, aye.
Amy, aye.
Cindy, aye. Great, okay. Thank you, thank you. Next on my list is the fire department.
last, because I have a long list.
Long list?
That sounds like a threat.
Might be a good idea.
Yeah.
I think you are, no, the
Might be a good
police.
idea.
Who's next?
Police.
Rob's here. Oh, you want to go to the police?
The chief's there. There we go.
Where?
Up there.
Oh, there you are. Hello.
Hello.
Do you have a short list? Let's see, now I gotta find you.
I do.
Yep,
So-
yep. I gotta find it though. Oh, police department.
You
Okay.
get kudos for short list, Mike.
Yeah, okay.
I heard.
No charge for hot meals.
Yeah. All right, we're ready to
You
go.
ready?
Ready?
So I took a look at our fees, and it appears they haven't been updated since 2017. So originally, we had fees for police detail planning fee. I did away with that. And the reason why I did away with that, because technically that's the operations lieutenant's job. So we did away with that. So the other fees, I increased. Like the cruiser fee went from $12 to $25 per hour, and there's a 4-hour minimum, which technically, so it's $100 for a cruiser, and then $25 after 4 hours. Same thing with the motorcycle. Bicycles went from $5 to $15 an hour with a 4-hour minimum. Barricades, they stayed the same. The message board that went up $50 from 100 to 150. And then the command post, that went up $100, basically 150 to 250. Now, I did contact all the surrounding towns, and I was actually shocked to find out that a lot of departments don't have many fees. Most of the fees that departments have around us are basically just for cruiser fee. And a lot of their fees have not been updated in years. And it's funny because a lot of the chiefs actually pointed out to me, they said, hey, look, once you get your fees approved, send it over to us. We're probably gonna use the same, you know, the same fees, the same dollar amount. And these fees, by the way, as you probably already know, do not affect any town details such as the water department, DPW, schools. So it's all for private details.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions?
Oh, I do.
Oh, you do?
Wait, I'm not understanding this at all. A fee is charged to ride in the cruiser or to look at the cruiser? Or
So
what,
these
why?
fees-
To have it be there.
These fees are for details, so in other words, let's say, for example, Verizon calls and they say they need an officer for a detail, and they want a cruiser. They're gonna have to pay for the detail officer, and then on top of that is the cruiser fee. So these are for details.
Okay,
It's
so
to
you're
have the lights
charging
there.
for a police officer that's on a bicycle.
If they're required for a detail, which is not common, I don't think I've ever remember seeing a detail that required a bicycle. But-
Yeah, the only time we ever do that is at the 4th of July.
Yeah.
And that's not a detail.
Again, that's a town, that's not gonna be
Yeah, that's a
affected.
town entity, so.
Okay.
But we
Well, it
have,
could
we
be
have
maybe
details for road
just in
races.
case.
Yeah, for a
you know.
road race, it could be a
Road race, right?
bicycle.
Just in case we
Right,
want
and a
always have-
motorcycle.
Okay,
Police
so
and fire both go.
for the bicycle being on site at the detail, that is the fee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And in terms of the fee that you are looking to eliminate altogether, you said that that is because that it had to do with it was somebody's job to do that planning, that fee
Exactly.
was, can you explain that a little bit to me?
Yeah, so back in 2017, Chief Clancy came up with these fees. And they were basically a police detail pre-planning fee, and there were different levels.
Planning.
And it all depended on how many officers were required for example, like the triathlon. You know, if it needed 11 officers, there was an additional $250 planning fee. The way I look at it, the operations lieutenant, in his job description, he is required to schedule and to plan out events such as the 4th of July parade, the 4th of July road race, anything like that. It's his responsibility. That's part of his job.
But is it an
So-
opportunity, if it is not a town-sponsored event, that individual that is coordinating all of the additional details is spending time doing that? And if it's not a town event, does it not make sense to get the organization to cover those costs?
You know, you could look at it that way. I mean, you know, for the few times that it happens, I mean, believe me, if you wanted to leave these fees in, that's fine with me. I was just looking at it of a more easier way for bookkeeping, you know, for tracking and everything. Whereas, you know, if you wanted to add these fees and have them remain in, I have no problem with that. I mean, if you want to recoup some of the cost of planning and, you know, for private details and private events, I guess you can look at it that way.
But if that's his job description, then it's sort of,
Well, yeah, but if it's an outside entity that is looking to have our police department, the residents are paying for that, and if it's something that can be recouped by an outside organization, maybe it's not even a town, you know, if it's utilizing our employees' time and it's something that we can recoup through a fee, it seems like we should try to do that whenever we can.
I will tell you this, though, I don't know any town, especially locally, that has something like this fee set up. I specifically asked a lot of chiefs around us, and they said that they don't have any planning fees like, that they charge.
Yeah,
Madam
In
Chair.
my experience, I've never heard of it.
seems sort of odd to me. Brian? go ahead.
Couple of questions, Chief. So I appreciate that the fees are going up, as you just heard me talk about with the cemetery department. But where these are public safety and they're going up fairly significantly on a per-hour basis, I'm hoping you can speak a little bit about how details are requested, or more particularly, I'm interested in knowing whether details are discretionary. That is, if the fees are going up to a point now where there's a chance for somebody who otherwise would have called for a detail now might not, and that could potentially result in some sort of public safety issue where, having an officer present versus not. Is there any discretion with folks who need to call for details, maybe now not calling for them?
No, I don't think that's gonna happen. It's not often that they require a cruiser or a motorcycle for details. For the most part, they may require like 2 officers instead of an officer and a cruiser. I think the cruiser is the request for a cruiser is very rare. You don't see it often. And I don't think it's gonna affect people not calling for a detail. I don't think it's gonna change anything.
Okay, because this is for, as Amy just pointed out, it's for the physical equipment, not for the officer. Right?
Right, the
So,
officer
okay,
is a separate fee.
all right, thank
Yeah,
you.
when
So there
I
is-
usually, sorry.
No, I'm sorry, so there is a fee for an officer, it's just not
Right.
changing. Right? I mean, we're not seeing it tonight because you're not looking to increase it.
How much is an officer?
The officer, I don't have the exact dollar amount, but that's all contractual.
That's bargain.
It all
Yeah.
depends on, their pay rate, their
Okay.
salary.
All right,
It was big.
okay,
And
That's
these
how
are
that's,
largely a pass-through. That's all they are, it's a pass-through.
okay, good. Any other, Fernando, did you have something?
No, so I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Can
question-
I just because Brian,
What did I do?
Your fault.
Well, because you brought it up about, what, in instances that require a detail. Recently I had a neighbor who was taking down some trees, and the tree trucks were out, and, there was, and I think I called you guys, and you sent a cruiser down, because
Yep.
the road was impassable. So I think that is a concern, that will this impact a lot? It's not discretionary always people need to call for a detail when the public way is gonna be impeded, and, yes?
Yeah, so there will be times, and I don't think this is gonna change it. There are times where people try to get away with, companies try to get away with not having a detail. That's been going on for years, and really what it comes down to is either somebody calling it in, or the officers on patrol speaking to the company saying, hey, you can't operate today without having a detail because it's a safety issue. That happens often, more than you would imagine. So I don't think adding cruiser fees or anything like that is gonna change that. I don't think it's gonna get worse, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but building on it, I mean, that when you see a police officer, invariably they've driven their private truck or vehicle to the detail. There's not a police cruiser there sitting around doing nothing. It's usually their private vehicles taking care of the detail, right? So
Yeah.
that has to happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, can we have a motion on this one?
I move that we approve the fee increases for the police department.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ryan, aye.
Michael, aye.
Fernando, aye.
Amy, aye.
Cindy, aye. Okay,
What else we
so,
got?
Fire.
well,
Town
fire,
clerk.
but I see the water department here. Do you have a fee thing?
Yeah.
You do. Now, we didn't get that, is that correct, everybody?
I don't have it in my packet.
I Cemetery,
They're on another agenda item.
On another agenda item.
they've sent.
What?
No, let me take a look at it first.
I did not.
No, it's not in here.
Is it on something else?
Okay.
How about if we take,
Take fire or somebody.
clerk?
No, I didn't get the water rate.
No, that's not in the pack.
All right, so you're gonna go off and come, so we're gonna come back to the
Yep.
town, I mean, town
Town
clerk
clerk.
is nobody, right?
Yeah,
During
there's
town
two
clerk.
Both of them.
You're sitting there
I
all
think you're
night
somebody.
long.
I think you are somebody.
Okay, I didn't mean it that way, but I don't have any,
And her very competent assistant.
Look at that.
I apologize,
But
I
we don't-
didn't mean
meaning
it
we
that
don't
way.
have
What I meant was,
info.
we didn't get town clerk increases.
I don't
didn't-
see the
You
town
don't
clerk,
have your town, your.
your information in
increases
here either.
Well, we've got fire.
We can copy it really quickly if you want.
Yeah.
That's what I meant, I didn't mean anything, I
You know what?
misspoke.
It is on the agenda. We
It's
just
on
didn't
the
get
agenda,
it.
but we didn't get anything.
We didn't get it.
So I thought, well, it was just there.
What they can do,
Okay,
is recess
so while you're doing that, Rob,
move it on to the next one. Do that. It's easy. In the absence of their information, you are afforded the luxury of being able to recess parts of the hearing to a specific date and time, which could be next meeting.
well, we could, or
Or
we
we
could
could
just.
just hear
But
it.
no, I'm saying if you don't have the information from the town clerk or the water department, they can just go to the next week. You have the
Okay, all right.
ability.
All right, I think we'll be all right.
But can we get it if they make copies?
They are right
Make
now.
them copies.
Yes.
I have a guess
Yeah,
Those-
okay,
last year.
all righty.
Good memory.
So you can make us lots of money then, Rob.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Rob Reardon, Fire Chief. So it was brought to us a while back to review our fees, to see if our fees are matching with the services we provide. And we reviewed all of our fees, and as you can see, we're increasing them. So I think everybody has hopefully the sheet of fees are proposed.
Yep.
We've done a lot of research on these. We've looked at neighboring towns. And if you look at the first bunch all the way till we get to the ambulance fees, all the way down to dumpster, if you look at those fees, as long as I've been in administration, which is about 12 years, they've never been increased. So what we're doing is we're trying to increase them to the maximum, which is what we're doing. And that's, like Mary had mentioned earlier, that's by mass general law. So all those fees are being increased. All our neighboring towns are doing this. For us, one of the biggest ones that we do all the time is right up there at the top, resale compliance. It's currently $35, it's going to $50. And we do those all the time. Every time somebody sells a house, multi-million-dollar house, we're charging them $35. $50 up $15 isn't going to cover our costs. It's not covering the time to schedule, the time to go out there, the vehicle, the person. This is the most that we can get.
The most we can
Why,
get.
why?
Correct.
Why is it the most?
Mass
Mass
general
general
laws.
laws, like
Wow.
Mary mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Some of them are very frustrating.
Wow.
So if you look down there and you see all the fees, what we might see for an increase is somewhere between, $18,000 and $25,000 next year based on the amount of inspections that we're doing. The only fee that wasn't increased was the open air burning, which is brush burning. It's staying because it was increased $2.50 last year.
I have got to ask you a question.
Sure.
Storage permits.
Sure.
What are salamanders? Are people
Uh,
storing salamanders?
No,
Nah.
no, that would be more like those portable heaters.
I'm sorry, what?
So, portable heaters.
Portable heater.
Are called
At a job site.
Are
salamanders?
salamanders?
Yeah.
Isn't that the little oven in the restaurant where they
That's
broil?
another version of it.
That's a right.
A salamander is an oven it's a convection oven that
Yeah.
blasts heat from the top and it rolls the food through.
Yeah.
What they've done is taken that concept and turned it into a heating unit, which is one of those freestanding kind with a propane tank on the bottom. and
Oh,
it radiates
outdoor
heat
heating,
from the top.
outdoor dining, yeah.
It's a
I
salamander.
just got a chuckle out of that, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So
But it comes from the
if you
restaurant
look at most of these permits, we don't do a lot of them, but while we were increasing, we figured we'd try to bring them up, because I've spoken to several of you on the board before, we're trying to
Yeah.
increase our revenue to try to cover costs, because everything that we're doing is going up.
All right.
So if you don't have any questions on that, I'll get down to the ambulance fees.
Yeah.
The bottom line is that's the maximum we can go up to.
Correct.
All right?
Yeah,
Of
okay,
maximum.
ambulance.
Yep, that works.
All right, we'll move on to ambulance fees. We have 4 fees that we're looking to increase. First one is basic life support, second one is advanced life support, and the next one is advanced life support 2, followed by mileage. So like I said, everything is increasing. If you look across the board, our staffing costs are increasing, ambulance costs have increased dramatically. Our monitors, our supplies, our training, and then I'll just say, like many others, unfunded mandates. So OEMS, which controls our licenses, we just had an unfunded mandate put down on us in the last year. That requires all of our firefighters, EMTs, paramedics to go for training, and it impacts the town. So by increasing these fees, we can start to recoup some of that money, and it goes into the general fund. Last year, we brought in $1.3 million in the ambulance fund. We collect about 95% of that. We've actually, I worked with Mary, we lowered our percentage that we're paying the billing company. We lowered it from 4% to 3.5%. So we've tried to do a number of things to try to increase the revenues to offset what it costs to run the department. When we set these fees, we worked with ambulance billing companies to look at the top 50 billing towns with their highest rates. And when we set these rates, we're going to be competing at a much better level and bringing in much better money, which is what I think we want to do at this point to try to offset some of these costs. And I just welcome any questions you might have.
I'm looking at the spreadsheet, right? Just for clarification, it says Duxbury 2020 rate?
Yes.
Yeah, but if you go up higher.
That's when we increased it last.
So
Yeah, but
what's the new
where's the
rate?
new rate?
The new rate,
Previous page.
Is on the previous page. Okay, there it is.
Oh, okay, all
Got it,
right.
got it. Thank you.
Thank you for asking, Fernando, because I didn't see that either.
the other, if I can just say one other thing with this increase, one thing that we've done is we used to have almost like an a la carte. If you had an EKG machine hooked up to you, if we did IVs, if we did all these special interventions, you'd be charged individually. That's been removed and bundled into this. And the reason is because insurance companies aren't paying for it. And our billing company
Right.
said this is the best way to recoup these costs. And that's why we've done this. So it might seem like a drastic increase, but it really isn't.
Okay.
So
It doesn't seem drastic.
you just said that insurance companies aren't paying these fees. Does that translate into if a resident calls and needs advanced life support too, and we increase these rates as you're proposing, their insurance company may not pay that entire amount, and then the rest of the amount owed is on the resident to pay?
If we increase the fees to what they are, and if the company does not pay,
Yeah, so you just said that
No, they're not paying
the
for like
insurance companies
EKGs
aren't
and,
paying for, I want to make sure that our rates aren't exceeding what the typical insurance benefit is and
and that's
leaving
why
our
we're
residents to
setting
pay
up the billing like this. This is all billable, it's allowable. There's also a Medicare allowable rate, so the Medicare allowable rate is lower. Just to give you a percentage, there's probably a quarter of what we bill is what we get back on Medicare. But we also put in quite a bit of time at the end of the year to go back to Medicare and to try to get more money, which we are pretty successful with.
What I'm hearing is that they go to the insurance companies, they don't go to the residents. Is that what happens?
Correct. We try to get that money from the insurance companies. So working with the billing companies, they said this is going to be our best option to try to get money out of these insurance companies.
what he said, I think, Amy, you were
I probably
looking at
wasn't.
that, is that they used to document or bill for like EKGs and
Yep,
IVs
yep,
and
yep,
that
now
sort
it's
of stuff,
bundled.
yeah. And now it's bundled, yeah. Anybody else have a question?
No, Amy asked my question, and the chief answered
Answered
what I was thinking about the issue of Medicare and
Yes.
how that pays back. And I'm surprised it's so low. I wasn't expecting 25%.
I don't know.
That's probably even on the high side.
And
Wow.
the rates are supposed to increase in 2024. I got some information on it, but I don't have locked-in numbers yet. But we are going to see some increases in that. In the end, I predict with these increases and the other ones, we might see about 100,000. But again, that's just trying to project the best I can.
All right, great. See, that didn't take very long.
We all done with questions? Wow, that's great.
Yeah. A motion? Unless anybody out in,
I move to accept the rate increases for the fire department.
Second,
roll call.
Brian, aye.
Mike Clark?
Fernando, aye.
Amy, aye.
Cindy, aye. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The Council on Aging is looking to à la carte, and you're looking not to à la carte.
Oh, yeah, so now, let's see.
See what she pulls first.
Do we have the
We can do the town clerk.
Which one do you want to do first?
town clerk?
Susan,
She's right next to them. Yeah, this is a,
Oh, man, this is going to
I
be...
just want to
Lot of
acknowledge the
questions.
fact that I know that you're here.
wow,
Appreciate that.
there you go. I was wrong.
What I do.
Okay, I'll try to make this as easy as possible since you just received the spreadsheet. So anything that was highlighted in yellow is what I'm addressing tonight. Fees that I'm suggesting we increase. Broken down into two different areas of service for us. We have the vital records portion and then kennel licenses. For vital records, I am recommending a small increase for the amendment of a record of birth, filing an adoption or out of Commonwealth birth, and the amendment of a record of marriage. Those haven't been reviewed for 15 to 20 years, those fees. So what I'm proposing is to increase from $15 or $20, which is where they are currently, to $25 and standardizing them across those three services. I then have filing a home birth or making an amendment to a death record. And those two items I'd like to increase from $15 and $20 currently to $50 each. Those two services are much more labor intensive than the other three. And it requires us to, for a home birth, create a birth certificate from scratch. We have to gather evidence to be able to do that. And the amendment of death also requires very specific evidence to make a change. Part of the reason also for the death record amendment increase to this amount is 10 years ago, when the state used to take care of amendments, I saw maybe 3 a year. Last year, we processed 23. 11 of those were medical examiner updates, which we don't charge for, obviously, but we had 12 that were errors due to lack of attention to detail by funeral homes when inputting information. So I'm hoping that this will incentivize them to be more careful when they create the records on their end.
I see, so that would, a fee that would go towards, go to the funeral home.
We would charge the funeral home the $50, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Now, if the family is the one who makes the error and the funeral home inputs that information incorrectly, then that charge goes to the family, but that's not the usual issue. The next section we would like to address would be kennel licenses. So we have 3 categories for kennel licenses. We have personal kennels, people who own 4 to 9 dogs, then personal kennels with 10 or more dogs, and commercial kennels. And we currently only have 1 commercial kennel permitted in town. These increases were arrived at after discussion with Eddie Ramos for Animal Control. And the increase is reflecting basically the increased in costs for dog licenses, as well as Eddie's trip to inspect a kennel. So anyone who owns 4 dogs or more, he will go inspect their home to make sure that conditions are satisfactory on that. Do you have any questions?
Nope, I don't.
Madam Chair, not as to the fees themselves, I think these are reasonable. Just one thing in terms of, not that you and Tara need more work, but one thing with people working from home over the last few years and maybe not being in commercial settings, I've seen instances or more instances of people needing notary services. Is that something that can be provided through the town clerk's office for a fee, or, I don't want to put you on the spot, but.
No, that's okay. I am a notary. However, I believe it was an issue several years ago where we need an insurance rider to notarize 4 people.
Okay,
So I no longer offer that service to the public. I will notarize things in my office, like the documents that I have to collect
Right.
from my processing of vital records. I will notarize those if the person brings them to me. But anybody who comes for an outside notary service, I do not offer that.
Nancy and I
We
are
refer them
notaries
out.
too, but we only do it for people that are known to us. We send them to a bank.
yeah, so that
I can
actually.
confirm, Brian, that Maya wanted us to have a rider at an extra cost.
An extra cost, what,
We said no
do you know what that
thanks.
cost would be?
It was pretty significant that we
Yeah.
decided not to do it.
Yeah, it was just easier not to, because they can go to a bank and
So
get
we'd
it done.
ask them, so if folks ask for notary services, we would say, go to your bank or whatever, so it's not something.
Unless we
that
know them.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll notarize for you. Don't worry, you're okay.
Well, I'm the only notary I know, so it's,
Now you know
it's hard.
3
to-
others.
Well, now you know it's a risk.
And Susan, I know 4 of them now. Nando.
Yeah. Susan?
Yes.
These fees, are they comparable to what other towns charge?
They are. They are. I looked at everything in Plymouth County and
Right.
picked an average or more than
All
the
right.
average to set these.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, have we any more questions? Anybody? No? Okay. Amy?
I'll move to accept the fee increases for the town clerk.
Second.
Roll call.
Ryan, aye.
Michael, I.
Fernando, aye.
Amy, aye.
Cindy, aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oops, oh dear. Okay, Water Department.
Hey, I'll have one of those. There you
I
go.
was so confused why they were down there and we didn't have anything.
Get some stuff later.
We do.
Mark Cloud, Water and Sewer Superintendent.
Oh, here, sorry.
Thank you. That's all right.
I am proposing some new fees and some fee increases.
Okay.
I've looked at surrounding towns and saw what they've charging for this same services. And I'm lower on some of them and then average on others.
Okay.
The first one is an emergency shut-off. This requires extra time for my workers to possibly stay late, increasing from 25 to 75. And after-hours emergency shut-off, where somebody would get called out and would get a call-out pay, $200 from 25. Final water read is when they sell a home and have a real estate transaction. That's currently 25. Most towns are charging 40. Hydrant use, this was typically for demolition of a house. We'd charge them $250 a day. Backflow device test, most towns are charging $65 to $70, and we spend a lot of time and effort in this testing, and only businesses require this, so it would only be fair that they pay for that service. So I propose $65. Cross-connection survey is the same sort of service, $65 for that. Water violations, that's typically during a water ban, and that's usually $100 the first offense, $200 the second offense, and then $300 every offense after that. Illegal hydrant use, I've run into this with hydro seeders, just thinking they can fill up their trucks with a hydrant in a neighborhood, and
Seriously?
yes,
In this town?
no, previous
Okay.
towns. So the other towns would have a bylaw, and I would just take a picture of the license plate and send that to the police department, and that's how a fine would get issued.
I have a hydrant in front of my house, by the way.
Late
Wait.
fee,
Can I just,
I've never seen it happen.
Mark, meter tampering, there's nothing there, is that?
I typically haven't run into that.
Okay.
Okay.
Late fees,
I'll show you how to do it later, Fernando. Turn it upside down, plug it right back in.
Can you hotwire a car too?
If I don't get caught, I'm good, right?
You're good.
You're from Dorchester.
Even if you do get caught, there's no fine.
Oh, is everybody caught?
It doesn't cost me anything to do
Hang over later when the lights are off. It's fine, don't worry, we'll take care of it.
I'm sorry, Mark, go
it's
ahead.
usually difficult to prove the meter tampering.
Right.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Remember that. Difficult to
I'll
prove. Write that down.
Our
What's your
current
second
late fee is $10. I'd like to increase that to $25. Shut-off fee is $10. I'd like to increase that to $75. We don't have many of those. Fire flow tests, that's when a contractor is going to build a new building, and he needs to do a fire flow test for the fire department to check the flow. So that's after hours, requires one of our operators to go out and work with them. It's $250. Leak fee after 7 days. So sometimes we have somebody that's difficult with making a repair to their water service line that's leaking, and they'll like to ignore us, and we're losing a lot of water during that time. So if we could have some sort of leverage to impose that fee if they don't act quickly to get the repair done and stop the leak. Drain layers license, we require this, or I'd propose requiring this for water or sewer work, just so we have somebody that has experience, and this, there'd be a form that they'd fill out with the DPW. Use of a hydrant connection with a backflow device, $250. And then system connection fees, we're much lower than other businesses or towns. I would propose increasing the 5/8, 3/4, and 1 inch to $4,500. Norwell's charges $7,000 for this connection. Situate charges $14,000.
Oh, my goodness.
I'd like to increase the 1.5 inch connection from $5,000 to $6,000.
Wow.
That's it.
Okay. Questions?
Madam Chair, I have one question. The water violations and the illegal hydrants, who would enforce that? How will we give notice to residents? And what authority do you have to collect?
Typically, it's not a business, I mean, a resident that,
Well, the water violations, I'll start
Right.
with that.
So-
Or
so-
sec, who's going to give the warning? Who's going to be collecting the
well,
100?
typically, if I catch them or one of my staff catches them, we would take a picture of the license plate. And then the only way that we can find them is if we create a bylaw, and the police department would then send them a ticket.
Okay. All right.
Are you listening to this, Kristen, for the planning board bylaws?
Yeah, but that seems like a roundabout way to have to fine a violator, that you have to take a picture of their vehicle's license plate and then,
So typically, they don't live in town.
Or what
for
kind of
water
violation?
violation? No, I think Mike's talking about somebody
someone
who's
using their
watering
sprinkler
their
during a water
lawn
ban.
during the
Oh, okay, yep.
Isn't that a water?
Oh, so we don't need a bylaw for that.
No.
Okay.
We can put that on their water bill.
Right, okay.
Okay, so you're able to provide notice during those water bans?
Yeah, so we usually,
This will be, you'll get a,
we would go out there and give them a warning the
Mhm.
first time, and then if they continued the violation, then we'd go back and give them a $100 fine,
and that would go on the water bill itself.
yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair, one question. Mark, for the hydrant use, the $250, can you explain that a little more? I'm not sure I follow what that is.
Me either.
So there's two cases. One, would they be tearing down a house, and they'd need the water to keep for dust control.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen that often, but it is needed sometimes. So we would provide the backflow device on that hydrant so that they could do that.
Okay, and that's, I thought I heard you say it's $250 a day plus consumption.
No, it's just $250 for this initial
Okay.
setup.
Okay, got it. All right, thank you.
I have a question about the new construction connection fees. And obviously, our fees are ridiculously low. And you cited some neighboring towns that are significantly higher than what you're proposing. Why wouldn't we go right up there?
We could. I figured I'd just take a small step and kind of set a baseline. We'd probably be doing the same thing with the rates.
Oh, I'd be all for going right up to the, for new construction, why wouldn't we do that? I mean, the homes are selling in town for millions. It doesn't make any sense to me why, you would, what did you say, it was a $14,000?
Yep, and Norwell 7.
I think we should consider that.
I would guess that our water superintendent would be open to that.
Yes.
I think we should, could we,
What do you think,
could you
Ellen?
give me the numbers for the higher amounts for what was the 5/8?
So Norwell charges $7,000.
And the 3/4?
So up to 2-inch, from 5/8 to 2-inch, they charge $7,000.
Okay,
The same
so
for
it's
each.
the same, yep.
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 And then the 1.5 is 14?
No, from,
No, up to 2-inch.
Up to, so
2 inch.
5/8 to 2 inch.
So it's a little
What was
cheaper.
what was the $14,000?
That's
Norwell,
Situate.
Norwell.
That's what Situate charges
Oh,
for a
Situate.
5/8 inch meter.
Oh, okay, so I would say that we at least go to 7 and maybe, I'll let the other board members.
What
This
is-
all goes into the enterprise fund, right?
What is
There's
the most frequent connections, how, size-wise?
1-inch line with a
1-inch line?
5/8 inch meter.
Okay,
And this is strictly for new construction.
Yep.
all right. Yeah, I would do the 7,000.
Good question
well.
is, that all goes to the water enterprise fund, right?
Yep.
And that we can use funds from the water enterprise fund to build or contribute to PFAS facilities, can't we?
Okay,
So 7, is that what?
For all the
7, I
red
think,
ones?
For all of them.
for the, from 5/8 to 1.5.
2-inch.
2 inch.
Well, that's what you said
2 inches already at
Norwell was
8,000.
doing.
2 inches is already 8,000.
5/8 to 2 inch.
Yeah,
For
but
7,000.
2/8 is, the 2 inch is already listed at 8,000.
8,000, yeah.
You're not dropping
That
it.
was
We don't wanna
my
drop it.
proposal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we just do 5/8 to 1.5 at 7,000.
Yep.
Got it.
You all happy with that?
Sure.
Yeah,
So
good
as
question, Amy.
amended?
Nice.
All right, any other questions on this?
No?
Can you just explain more the leaks fee after 7 days?
Yep.
Explain that a bit
So
more.
sometime we'll have a resident that has a leak in their service line and it's not getting metered, so they're not really concerned about how long it's gonna leak.
Oh, that's between the main line and their
house.
water meter, that line that goes across their yard type of thing is leaking.
Yes, so they're not really concerned because they're not gonna get charged for
Right.
that water loss.
How often does that happen?
Not very often. Most of the residents
But we've
will
seen it
have it
happen.
repaired within
Yeah.
a day.
And when it does, it's big.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's $35, it's big. I mean, is $35 enough?
Yeah, I think so. If they know that they're gonna get charged extra for the leak,
Yeah, then
they'll fix it sooner than later.
Right.
All
Is
right.
it up to the resident to fix that leak, or is it
Yes.
up to the what? so-
Residents.
So they have to get somebody out there.
Yep, and most of them do.
Right, okay.
All right. Motion, Amy, for this?
I'll move that we accept the fee increases for the water department as amended.
Second.
Roll call.
Brian, aye.
Michael, aye?
Fernando, aye.
Amy, aye.
Cindy, aye. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
I think that concludes
Yes.
the fee hearing. So, let's see. I think we have to come out of this somehow.
I move that the select board close the public hearing regarding the proposed fee changes.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Brian, aye.
Michael, aye?
Fernando, aye.
Amy, aye.
Cindy, aye. Very good. Thank you very much, and thank you all for your
Yes, thank you.
work and presentations, and appreciate it. All right, so next is Chief Reardon is going to do a discussion regarding the intermunicipal agreement with the town of Easton for emergency vehicle repair. I have to find that first, Rob.
Me too.
Sorry.
There it is.
While you're looking for that, I'm just going to give a quickie intro. In an effort to be cost efficient and the fact that we do not have the facilities to repair the larger fire department vehicles, Chief Reardon has made arrangements with the town of Easton as they have both the facility and the certified mechanic for emergency response vehicle repairs. The proposed contract before you this evening has been reviewed and approved by town council. Chief Reardon, myself, and Mary McKinnon also approved of this arrangement and asked for the select board's approval as well. And with that, you've got the chief.
Good evening, Rob Reardon, Fire Chief. Just like I said earlier, everything's going up in cost, and we're trying to find creative ways to get the same thing for better pricing. So Easton has a certified mechanic with a facility, and they're outsourcing it. And I think it's a very good option for us to use as a repair facility, not only because of cost, but we have somebody that we can trust. This isn't a business that's trying to make money off of us. And not to talk bad, but numerous fire departments in the area have had some very bad experiences with dealerships in the area. And this became an option. I am friendly with their fire chief, and he offered us to get in there. And currently, they're servicing 7 towns. They're also servicing West Bridgewater, Raynham, East Bridgewater, Acushnet, Norton, Dartmouth, Avon, and then it would be us also. And I think you got a copy of the labor rates. The labor rates are very, very competitive, probably half the price of some of these dealerships. And the experiences that I've heard from other chiefs are not only cost effective, but also much faster. And I think this is a great option for the town moving forward.
Okey-dokey. I think this sounds great, too. Anybody have a question?
Fernando.
Fernando?
Yeah, hi. I know that DPW has facilities, right? So I've been there. They're repairing stuff all the time. So why are we going to Easton? Why are we using our mechanics that are our employees and are repairing trucks and stuff? Why are we not? Why are we going outside?
We have no emergency vehicle technicians at the DPW that are employed, and I don't believe that their lifts can handle the weight of our larger trucks.
The larger trucks, I understand, but you mentioned Tracy Chevrolet, right? You've got, I mean, who services your vehicle, for instance?
We'll bring that to Tracy Chevy, but the majority of the stuff is done in-house for that. I have an EVT, but that handles the lower stuff, but we don't handle the bigger stuff.
Okay, I'm still confused as to what, Sheila, you're there. Maybe you can come up, what equipment, I mean, you're maintaining big trucks in that facility, aren't you?
Do you want to explain EVT?
Yes, so this is a separate certification that nobody at the DPW has. I don't believe their facilities can handle our larger trucks on the lifts, the engines, the ladder.
Well, now, engine ladder, I understand, but you have a large fleet of ornery vehicles,
So
right?
like I said, I have a firefighter who's also an EVT that's a mechanic that we've had this arrangement for many years. So they handle all of our in-house brakes, our oil changes. We're doing that stuff already. And that's a dual role person. So they're employed as a firefighter while they're on duty. So he's on duty today. All day today, he's been doing mechanic work when he hasn't been on calls.
So maybe the
It's
point.
stuff that we can't handle in-house, we're trying to send out.
Okay, so what is an EVT then?
Emergency vehicle technician, takes a lot of training, specialized in emergency vehicles.
You have to have special certification to
Okay.
work on some of the emergency vehicles that the chief is proposing here. We are not allowed to work on those and still be in compliance with our insurance coverage.
Right.
So EVT is a specialized certification. Easton offers that. They have EVT certified technicians, mechanics on staff, where we don't, and they have the facility to handle this large equipment.
Could we train an existing, not just basically within the DPW department, right? So they would give you an extra firefighter who's not out there repairing vehicles. He could be available for response. How difficult it is to get a DPW employee certified as EVT?
I think this is a larger issue.
Okay.
So this was a decision made years ago. Our
Right.
fire station, that we weren't going to repair larger vehicles in-house. We have used DPW in the past for some minor repairs. But I think this is a very suitable option. If you want to look at hiring a mechanic that's EVT, that's a whole other can of worms. This is a long-term goal. It's very reasonable. If you want to spend more money and train people and have facilities to lift up big fire trucks, I'm not going to say that I'm against it, but
I'm not talking about the big fire trucks, but basically, there's quite a few vehicles that you have.
we're fixing those. I said
All right. Okay.
This is the
So
big
you're
fire
not
truck.
I'm just trying to find a way, right, that if we have an employee that we're paying for already, that if we could train, I'm not sure how much the training costs, but if we could increase the capacity of an existing employee, then that's cheaper than going outside and paying somebody else if you have the employee already on your books. That's the point I'm trying to make here.
I understand what you're saying now. So I think the question would be, does the DPW have the capacity to do more repairs in-house?
Right.
That might be the question.
That's, yeah.
And
I can't answer.
And you'd have to bargain it, because that's a change in working conditions for the employee, and it's subject to collective bargaining.
Okay, but it's not, all this is not insurmountable, right?
No, and it would cost more. You'd have to pay the person more.
That's fine, but would you pay the guy the same? Okay, all right. I'll leave this conversation, but I'm trying to find ways to be more efficient with hard-earned taxpayer money. I'm just asking questions. And I'd appreciate some thought about my question. And rather than shutting it down, I'd appreciate somebody coming back, thinking about it, and doing an analysis and sharing that analysis with me, rather than coming with off-the-cuff responses to my question. I'd like some more detail. That's what I'm requesting.
I have a question. Where this is just repairing the larger fire department vehicles, the hooks and ladders and that sort of thing, is that right? Do we don't have the facility at either the DPW facility or the soon-to-be new DPW facility or at the fire station to get those big vehicles up and repair them? Is that part of the issue?
No, we never planned on,
No, we don't have that capability is what I'm saying,
no,
right?
we never planned on it either.
Right, just what I'm saying, we don't,
Yeah, it was
right
never
now,
part of the design.
right this minute, we don't have that capability.
Right, and we're not going to in the new building either.
And we don't have it, we don't have it planned in the new building either?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
perfect. Brian?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just, I want to touch upon a couple of points. I reached out to the chief earlier today with a couple of questions that I think many of us may have, and I just want to share what those are. As I went through the contract, I saw the labor rates, which looked pretty good compared to commercial providers, but I didn't see anything about how parts and supplies would be billed, and I understand those are going to be at cost.
Correct.
Which are significantly less than what a dealership would charge us, so that's terrific. I asked about how the contracted labor rate compares to what we'd expect to pay from qualified commercial garage. The chief responded, and I think that was an email to all of us later to provide that comparison, which I thought was very useful. And then the only other piece, Chief, I'll ask you to touch upon a little bit is where the contract says Easton will provide services as available,
Yes.
as their capacity allows. Can you describe a little bit about how you intend the scheduling to go for equipment to be out of town and how long you anticipate the equipment to be out of service?
Sure. I actually think it will actually work out better because these dealers are over capacity. And I'll just use the example of Allegiance Fire Rescue. It's the biggest fire repair shop in this area. We brought our ladder truck over there in, I believe it was August, and we got a quote to do the repair. This was just our yearly checkup for $44,000.
Wow.
So, again, not to talk bad about dealers, but I don't think they have our best interest in mind. So we sent our mechanic over there to go over everything in detail that they wanted to do, and we took what we could not do in-house, and we let them do it, and then everything that could be done in-house was handled by our mechanic. Now, if we took that same truck and we brought it over to Easton, I think we would have saved a fortune. I really do. And I've done a lot of research on this to try to save money. This wasn't just something that was just thrown together. This has been months of planning. And again, if you have other questions, let me know. I'm not trying to.
That's great. I think that touched upon Fernando's point about this helps us for the near term.
Correct.
We can start doing this right now, but certainly it could be worthwhile to have these capacity, these abilities in-house to some extent, maybe not to the full extent that Easton has, but there's certainly opportunity there, it seems.
I'd really appreciate that analysis, because I know, Chief, at the FinCom, you were basically making the case that at some point we'll need to increase your staff to address the workload that you have, right?
Sure.
And so if we could build the capacity for an EVT with existing DPW staff, that would give, I would think, would free up one of your firefighters to become part of the road to. But anyway, I don't need to answer it now, but if we could do that analysis and maybe come back and share that result with some data, I'd really appreciate it.
I just let me just comment on that real quick.
Okay.
I don't want to just let that go.
Okay, sorry.
So our firefighter who works on staff, who's a mechanic, he's on duty today. If he's in the middle of an oil change, he wears a smock. When the call comes in, it's like Superman. He pulls it off.
Right.
So we don't take him away from going to any calls. He works additional overtime to fix vehicles at a much lower rate than other places. So he is doing extra hours there. But I want you to understand that there's a tremendous amount of vehicle upkeep that we have on these vehicles. It's constant. So if we were to ever shift operations from our in-house mechanic to the DPW, it would be a tremendous amount of work and probably an additional position. But again, I can't answer those questions, and that would be the analysis you'd be looking for.
I'd appreciate it. Thanks very much for the feedback.
You're welcome.
All right.
Madam
Any-
Chair, this seems like a tremendous cost savings opportunity. I appreciate the chief and the department, Mary, Rainey, for looking out of the box here to see how we can save
Absolutely.
some dollars.
I think it's not
Absolutely.
only just a cost savings, I think this is a better situation going from it. The dealerships are not where we should be getting our vehicles serviced. They do not have our best interest. The product markup there is incredible, and I think we've all had experiences that we want to forget at certain
That's right.
dealerships, so.
And so Tracy, Chevrolet and Colonial Ford, their mechanics are EVT certified, right?
No. No, that is they handle our Tahoes. Our Tahoes do not count with the EVT. So the EVT handles engines, our ladder, brush breaker, the bigger trucks.
Right.
They dropped Jamie's truck off the lift at Tracy, so that was a whoops.
That was a suspension check.
It was a big drop.
All right, let's move on. Can I get a motion on this?
Yeah, we ready? I move that we accept the, oh, no, I'm sorry, it's the intermunicipal, sorry.
Right here in front of me.
Oh, I move that the select board approve the intermunicipal agreement for the emergency motor vehicle technician services between the towns of Easton and Duxbury as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great,
Thank you.
All righty.
Thanks to Easton for helping us out.
Yes,
too.
thank you to Easton, yeah. Thank you for having a friend over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good
Get
work.
us on the list. All right, ARPA funding,
Okay.
Mary.
And before I get started, I'm going to ask if you all received both my memo as well as a chart that looks like this. Does
I
anybody need a
think-
copy?
Get the memo.
I
Oh, yeah, we
think
got it.
I've got a chart, but everything, both. Thank you.
I got both.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so let me start off by saying that on January 8th, so 2 weeks ago, Plymouth County held a seminar and invited and encouraged all 27 communities in Plymouth County to participate because we are staring down the last year of active participation with respect to the ARPA grant funding. As we talked about several times before, Plymouth County is requiring that all communities have their ARPA grant funds programmed, committed, intended for use no later than June 30th. And the federal government's requirement is that the funds need to be committed or allocated no later than December 31st of this year. Up to this point, the town of Duxbury has been very limited in their use of ARPA funding, but our time is running short. The message from the Plymouth County seminar that took place on the 8th of January was a very strong encouragement from Plymouth County commissioners to all of the member communities to focus on spending their ARPA funding, as the county does not want to return any of the ARPA funding back to the federal government. So they are strongly encouraging that we get moving. So to that extent, we are sort of in a timely fashion, currently taking a look at our capital program as we gear up for town meeting, and looking at our needs, our capital needs, and comparing it to our available funding, that is our traditional available funding to support our capital program. As you can well imagine, our capital needs far exceed any available funding that the community can contribute. However, we have access to these ARPA funds, and it is time that we start to program these in as aggressively as possible to take care of a number of critical projects that need to be funded, and timing on some of these is of the essence because some of these are going to require a great deal of time spent on procurement procedures, and rather than waiting for town meeting, which is not until March, by utilizing ARPA funding and getting the support of the board this evening, we will be able to take action on these items effectively starting tomorrow. part of the ARPA program, the process requires that we bring requests before the Select Board, and the Select Board needs to grant their support of those expenditures so that we can then proceed. You'll notice that we've got a number of department heads either here in the room or joining us on Zoom this evening so that they can answer some of your questions. But what I did is I outlined in the memo the proposal to spend $1.555 million in ARPA funding at this time for a variety of projects. And some of them have been listed in order of criticality, if you will. We have the first two. I'm not going to read the entire memo, but I'm just going to broadly go through the categories of expenditures, and should you have questions for any of our department heads, I will step away and you guys can ask your questions. We have been working with the DPW director as well as the water wastewater superintendent very closely over the last couple of months. As they have been encountering a number of issues. Some of them had been known, but became much more apparent and critical in nature with the most recent storms and the failures that we've experienced at some of our facilities. So the first project that we are requesting use of ARPA funding for is for sewer lift stations, which are the 3 sewer lift stations located at the school campus. They are in need of alarm systems as well as backup generators, so that we avoid the potential for a sanitary sewer overflow, which is something that we do not want to have happen. Next project is an inflow and infiltration design, construction, and related activities. Again, this is for our sewer system. We've been in contact, we've had preliminary conversations with our engineering company to get a general estimate in order to price out the cost of doing the initial study, as well as to undertake some of the initial repairs that we anticipate that we would see as a result of that study. That's not in the funding for that is not going to take care of all of the problems that we anticipate, but it will certainly get us started on the critical ones. But doing the study is the biggest part. Item number 3, again, continuing with water and wastewater. This proposal is for interim consulting services for the wastewater treatment facility. I think we are all well aware that since March of 2023, the town has had to engage outside consulting services from Weston and Sampson. That has created a significant cost overrun in our operating budget, as that was not an anticipated expense, and that continues through this day. So this would be to cover the emergency interim services that we expect to have continue. Item number 4 is PFAS consulting services, and this is sort of a general function, if you will. We have a number of activities going on with PFAS. Fernando opened our meeting talking about the forum that, I'll plug that one more time, tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock at the high school. I think for the next couple of years, we are going to be focusing on all things PFAS, and that is going to be an overriding theme. We have the need for consulting services to not only participate in things like the public forum, but also to advise our Water Sewer Advisory Board, as well as our DPW Director and wastewater superintendent, as well as to utilize some funding for helping us to put together some of the procurement documents that we know we are going to need. Item number 5 is for 2 beach operations vehicles as part of the Capital Planning and Finance Committee review of our capital requests, as well as Steve meeting with Rainey and I. The request for vehicles is very much needed over at the beach. They essentially have 3 vehicles that are either non-functioning or are put together with bubble gum and duct tape. There you go. What this would allow is for, part of this is not only the criticality of the request, but also the timing. We know that the beach season opens on April 1st. Waiting until town meeting puts us in a very precarious position of being able to obtain those vehicles that are needed for us to do our jobs at the beach. Item number 6 is for facilities, repairs, and maintenance. There is a laundry list of deferred maintenance. I think we've had this conversation on numerous occasions. And on any given day, much like in our homes, things break, things need to be repaired. Our operating budget has been consistently well underfunded to handle the repairs and maintenance, the scope of repairs and maintenance that we are seeing across our town buildings. So this would provide our facilities department with the capacity to undertake a number of repairs that we are currently facing. Item number 7 is for school safety measures. About a year and a half ago, this board supported the use of ARPA funding for some school safety measures with respect to some construction at some of our school facilities. In the course of completing those or undertaking those projects, there has been a cost overrun, and additional $40,000 is needed to complete that first phase of school safety measures. Item number 8 is Alden School repairs and renovations. There are a number of items that were submitted to the Fiscal Advisory Committee separately. And in looking at those particular requests and in working with the facilities director, as well as the school administration, we thought it best to bundle those items under an Alden School repairs and maintenance project. Itemizing some of the items that have been identified. However, what we anticipate is that this request would be supported in its entirety of the $485,000, but allow the school department to undertake in order of priority the projects that they need to. So should they undertake projects 1 and 2, and there's a cost overrun, they would have the flexibility of utilizing those funds to address those issues. And item number 9 is a request to address one of the PA systems over at the school, within the school department. There is currently a need to address both the Chandler and the Alden school PA systems. At this point, what we're proposing is to provide the school department, again, with the funds to analyze which of those systems is more critical in nature in terms of its state of disrepair, and undertake the repairs for at least one of those school PA systems. So that's a broad brushstroke of the categories of projects that I am asking your board to support and the estimated level of funding that's needed. In this chart that I've provided for you, I've indicated to you where that would leave us in terms of projects that have already been brought before you, that have been supported, that are either completed in some stage of in-progress status, and then these projects here that I'm presenting this evening. What that would mean is that there would be approximately $102,000 unallocated should all of these projects be completed at the dollar levels listed. I'm anticipating that hopefully there may be some surpluses in some of these projects, in which case the sooner we get started on these projects and the sooner we know whether there is a surplus, the faster we can then reprogram that surplus into a different need. So, all that being said,
Yes,
I'll open it for questions.
yeah, my first question is on the unallocated amount. Does that have to be obligated by June?
It does. So the county is asking the town that I put together status reports. They are asking for aggressive periodic status reports. So the next reporting deadline will be March 1st, where they are hoping that we have got all of our funds programmed in some capacity by March 1st, and then certainly by June 30th. Yes, we would expect that that $100,000 would also be programmed. So you can expect that I will be coming before you at a future meeting to go ahead and do that.
Okay, all right, that was mine. Fernando?
Just a quick question. The not approved to be determined, is it that 503,620? That's part of the 4.4 million, right?
That is not.
That is not,
So
okay.
you're looking at the last two at the bottom?
Yes.
Okay, so what I will do is I'm going to draw your attention to the category number 2,
Yep.
approved and in progress. You will see 2 items located near the bottom called Depot/Tremont Tasks 1 and Tasks 2.
Yep.
Those tasks at the bottom, tasks 3 and 4,
Yeah.
relate to those. So right now, we have in process the design and engineering for putting together the project evaluation form for the Depot and Tremont wells. However, the iron and manganese pilot study and the pilot test proposal, those have not yet been started. Those have not been brought before you yet, and those are going to require procurement. So those are to be determined at this point. We need to make sure that we can finish tasks 1 and 2 in the timing that it's going to take to get tasks 3 and 4 committed.
Right, and then tasks 3 and 4, then that would go, would be in an article at some point in time, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
If we are to utilize ARPA funding, they do not, none of these items need to go before town meeting.
So I'm a bit confused. So is that 4.4 million include the 503,620?
It does.
Okay, now you've answered my
Yes,
question.
it does.
It does, okay, good. All right. And then the other question I have is maybe for Mark, is in the projects, and I know that we have, there was issues with the variable speed drives on 2 of the water wells. Is that something that can be paid for by ARPA funds, or you already got that covered?
Mark Cloud, Water and Sewer Superintendent. I plan on paying for those out of the operating budget.
Operating
They're about
budget.
$6,600 each.
$6,600, okay. Could that come out of ARPA funds?
Potentially.
Give you more money in your operating budget?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a plan, right?
Sure.
All right, cool.
Nice job.
That's. all right.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, Amy?
In regards to the beach operations vehicles, which is, the request is for $90,000. In the past, it has been the practice to try to utilize vehicles from another department to be used on the beach, because the beach is, it just, to put a new vehicle out there is kind of tragic. If we're to allocate this money towards that, does that then require that the new vehicles be used on the beach, and we can't do what we've done in the past, which is utilize some other slightly older vehicles from another department?
So I just want to highlight that the request for the 2 beach vehicles is to purchase used vehicles, not new.
And that she said that the,
So, and to your point, Amy, and that's the very reason. It doesn't make sense to put a brand-new, shiny, whatever it is out there. And Steve recognizes that. What his request is for 2
That's right.
used vehicles at an approximate cost of about $45,000 apiece, as opposed to brand-new pickup trucks or SUVs.
Okay, so there's no other departments that have some slightly used vehicles that would be, sometimes it makes sense to rotate some things around.
So part of that issue is timing as well, because those other departments who are making requests for replacement vehicles that will be brought before town meeting, they're still utilizing those vehicles until town meeting, and then until their order is fulfilled. So essentially, the entire beach season would have occurred by the time that those departments have freed up those vehicles to
that'd be
pass
July
those down.
1st, right? That you wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean,
So we
after
recognize
July.
that this is certainly out of the ordinary. Do we anticipate that going forward, we would absolutely get back to that hand-me-down structure? Absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to
There's no
make sure
doubt.
that we spend, I think we all do want to spend the money as wisely, and frugally as we always do. And then my other question is about the repairs to the Alden School. I believe it was last year at the Finance Committee meeting, presentations with the school, they were talking about a bigger plan. They had
We have the superintendent here with us.
I remember there being reference to an overall kind of a capital project plan that the school had, and I'm trying to figure out how this fits in with that.
Danielle, hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Yes, you are correct, Amy. We had submitted a statement of interest to the Massachusetts School Building Authority to be placed in the pipeline for potential renovation repair to Alden School, and we were not accepted into the pipeline for the current year, and so we're going to be resubmitting our request, and we'll be coming before you again to talk about this. One of the important pieces of applying to have your school entered into the pipeline for a potential school building project is that you have to maintain your school's show record that you're maintaining your schools throughout the process of application and throughout being accepted. And so these requests are just the most recent essential requests of repairs that need to be completed due to leaking roof, some difficulty with HVAC. And so these are not something that we can put off at this time. And I believe Christine is here as well if there's any specific questions about some of the projects. One of them specifically was a continuation of a capital project that began last year to renovate the elementary bathrooms. So we were able to completely renovate the group bathrooms at Chandler School last summer, and we're hoping to continue that project into the Alden School. The bathrooms are definitely in need of repair. They're not in, despite regular cleaning and maintenance, they're just old and in need of a renovation. And some of the other projects, I can pull them up, are some of the roof units as well as the, go ahead, Christina.
I can hop in for you, Danielle. So included in that $485,000 request, to Danielle's point, we had, if you guys remember, we spoke about a ramp report that we did for our school systems, and we also had asked at special town meeting last year for some money for roof repairs as well as infrared scans. So we did that infrared scan at Alden School, and that identified the roof sections that we needed to be replaced in a phased approach, right? Because what we didn't want to do is go to town meeting and ask for $1 million to put roofing on Alden. So what's included in this $485,000 request is repair of the next identified roof section, renovation, to Danielle's point, of the original bathrooms. We did save some money from the Chandler bathroom project that we're rolling into this one so that we can hopefully start phasing that out during February vacation. And then one of the major things that we've seen and that we put into the SOI is that we do have humidity issues within Alden schools. So we wanted to perform a dehumidification assessment of the school. And that really helps us on two fronts, right? To try to figure out how we can combat that in the near term. And then to Danielle's point, how we can incorporate a little bit more technical information into that SOI report so that when we apply for it again, you know, we have a little bit more, you know, identified from an engineering perspective issues that are going on within the school that would require extensive repairs or renovations.
Christina, just to follow up on Amy's question and what you just said, is part of any of this to address the heat issues on the third floor of that building? Will any of this address that when we have heat waves and things of that nature?
Third floor of Alden?
I mean, I think the dehumidification assessment is going to highlight some of that, but at the present time, the only way that you would be able to address the heat issues on the third floor you'd have to look into putting mini splits into classrooms on the third floor, and this $485,000 request certainly doesn't cover that.
Okay.
There's a third floor of Alden?
It's hot.
It's incredible.
It's very,
It's the
very,
sauna
very
one.
hot.
Insane how hot it is.
I didn't know there was a third floor. I mean, that's what I'm just like, wow.
Yep, the second and third floor definitely have heat issues on the warmer months.
It's terrible.
Huh.
I have other questions if you're.
Go ahead.
I have one more, but I can
Go
wait.
ahead.
Finish your thought.
My final question is, if several, I don't know whether it was weeks or months ago, we heard about the ramp at the beach that is not going to be operable due to erosion, or there was some repairs, or I don't know where that was left, but I know that it's important to have that ramp working at the beach, and wondered if some of the funds might be utilized in that fashion.
I thought DBR was taking care of that.
No, I don't think that was ever resolved. I don't think that was resolved. I don't remember where that went. Oh, it is on the agenda?
It's not on the agenda tonight.
I'm just suggesting that maybe that's another area that we could utilize some of these funds.
So to that point, I'm going to say maybe and maybe not, because what I didn't show here, and I don't have it with me, is which category the projects fall into. So remember that ARPA is limited in its use for the bulk of the funding. there's this thing called revenue replacement. And so there's a calculation, and only a certain dollar level can be used for revenue replacement. And that means that anything that's a legal expenditure could fall under revenue replacement. The other category that is much easier to define and is really sort of the motivation for a lot of ARPA projects is if it falls under water and sewer. And those ones, the bucket of money, the pool of funds that's available for those projects is much greater than the revenue replacement. We've utilized revenue replacement for a number of other things that we're looking at as priorities, that like the school entrapment areas for a school building. That's not a water sewer project, so that's utilizing the revenue replacement category. So I'd have to go back and look and see how much is left over. The reason I said the VFDs would qualify, it's a water project.
Yeah.
We know that those are going to qualify under the ARPA categories.
All right, so whether that expense is covered under these or not, I just don't want to lose track of that issue that is going to rear its head at some point, because I don't think we've resolved it. I don't know where we left that.
We'll find out. Okay. Mike?
You answered, that was my first question, the revenue replacement. The second one is this number 2 on here, the inflow and infiltration design with respect to our sewer systems. It's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that these sewer systems are, that in the past or currently they're being charged to the people that they service. So is the idea that the town would cover, or this money would cover this or this design work, but that any future activities would be covered by the people that it services?
So Mark can also speak much more eloquently to this. However, the folks who are connected to the sewer service are charged in 2 ways. First, whenever the sewer system was installed, and there's varying years based on the different systems, those property owners were assessed a betterment. That betterment appeared on a real estate bill, and that betterment was to cover the initial cost of the improvement for which they benefited and their property value benefited. In some cases, those betterments have been exhausted, and that people have paid those back. You have up to 20 years to have that paid on your real estate bill. Beyond that, there are sewer charges on a sewer bill, but are they covering the cost of this operation? The answer is no. Once these sewer systems are installed, and they're installed for a couple of reasons. Number one is a primary benefit to the entire community, that we are not polluting the waterways. And so there is a cost that is borne generally by this town. And does the revenue that we're generating from the sewer bills cover the cost of operating this system? The answer is no.
Is there is there any more on that at this point about what we're charging versus what the costs are going to be? Is that,
So
or is that this?
That is
this
not
piece?
what this piece is, and Mark and Sheila can describe it, but this is essentially cameras going into our sewer lines to determine where we have problems with the sewer lines, whether there's leaks, cracks, issues, buildup, and what kind of maintenance and clean, repairs we need to do on the existing structure. From a more broad perspective, to answer your question, we have had conversations about undertaking a complete water and sewer rate study.
Right.
And that would be part of a much larger equation.
Okay. Got it. All right.
Do you guys want to add anything?
That's enough for me. That's for me.
They're glad.
That covered my.
Okay, Brian?
Question for either Mark or Sheila. This is regarding either item 1, 2, or 3. I'm not sure what would fall in. But I'm trying to remember, it was either the Climate Vulnerability Assessment Plan or Hazard Mitigation Plan, or certainly in the comprehensive plan. One of the things that the town needs to do is harden its municipal infrastructure. And I'm curious to know, under any of these items, will we be looking into upgrading or hardening the sewer system against or in anticipation of climate resilience, sea level rise, that sort of thing, particularly given its proximity to the Bluefish River and the tidal areas?
I don't think that would fall under this. This was more of an ongoing maintenance. so that we're not treating seawater and groundwater in our septic systems and
Okay.
using, you know, excessive electricity to treat that groundwater.
So, and let me just quickly go back to the memo from Mary. So when we're looking at, for example, the number one, sewer lift station design, construction, and related activities, so that design and construction is for just backup power?
Yeah, so
So-
currently, if we don't have power to the school,
Yeah.
we can still run the school off the generator, but we can't have anybody in the building because the sewer system will not work.
Okay, so none of these would allow us to make, I don't know what we would call them, but improvements or additions to the system that would be in furtherance of climate resilience?
I don't believe so.
Just to keep them running, so
Okay.
keep the school open.
Okay, no, that's fine, I just wondered if this is one of those opportunities. All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right. How we doing?
Doing
All
good.
Good? All right. Motion?
Hold on, it's at the top. I'll move to approve the use of $1,055,000.
Sorry, I have a typo in that number.
Okay,
Can
you
you
want
use
to
the
read the
number
number?
from, can you just use the number from the chart? My apologies. This one here.
Can you just read the number out?
1 million, go ahead, Fernando, 5.
$1,555,078.
In ARPA funds as presented in the memo from Mary McKinnon dated January 22nd, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you all very
Zero,
much.
zero
Thank you.
balance.
Yeah, very much.
That's the plan.
That's the
I
plan.
know, really, right? We don't want to send any money back.
Thank you to
John.
the department heads.
Yes.
What did I just
Thank
do?
you very much for.
Yeah.
Hey, Christina, before you go, that charger out back still isn't working. I have to start
Oh, whoa.
making it a weekly event here that I remind you.
But we can't discuss it because it's not on our agenda.
Agenda. You should be,
Amy, I can touch base with you tomorrow morning offline.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank
Have a
you.
great night,
Sticking
everyone.
around, folks.
Thank you very much, everybody. Conveyance of land on Forest Street.
Yes, developer Kevin Sealand is gifting a small drainage parcel of land located at 0 Forest Street and part of the Hemlock Woods subdivision. This conveyance has been reviewed and approved by Town Council and Sheila Scarzi, our DPW Director. And attached, you'll see the draft deed and the acceptance of the deed, and you have a proposed motion before you.
is that intermuni,
This is
What?
Forest
No,
Street.
it was in the second half of the intermunicipal agreement attachment.
okay, got it, thank you. Oh, and Forest, yeah, got it.
Can I ask a question? Is this the, I believe one of his projects is coming up for roadway, a public road approval? Is that this development? No. Okay,
This is old.
No.
okay, this is all.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Okay.
What, and I don't know who would answer this, but what are the town's ownership obligations if we do accept this? And is there any maintenance we have to pay for?
It's ours once we own it, and I think we had discussed that the maintenance was minimal, if anything, right?
Yeah, why would
I'm
we?
looking at Sheila when I asked that.
Yeah. My point being is, it's nice to take something for $1, but what's it gonna cost us to
Oh,
own it?
trust me, that was my first question. We wouldn't be sitting here if it was gonna cost us something.
So, this one on Forest Street, it's a drainage parcel. Forest Street is a public street. And we actually have drainage that pipes into this parcel, and there are leaching pits. So we have public drainage going into this private parcel. When Forest Street was accepted, this parcel actually should have been accepted along with it. Because it's
Okay,
our
so-
public water drainage, stormwater that's going into this.
So this is administrative cleanup?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's quite possible we would need to get in there to clean out one of
For
these
real
leaching
cleanup.
structures.
Okay. Got it.
But
Thank you.
is the Hemlock Woods subdivision, is the roadway in which Hemlock Woods is built a public way as well?
Yes.
It is, okay.
Yeah, so it's cleanup.
Thanks, Sheila.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Nope.
No? Okay, motion, please.
I move that the Select Board approve and execute an acceptance of deed for the conveyance of a small drainage parcel of land located at 0 Forest Street and identified as parcel number 022-940-039 from Kevin Seelan to the town of Duxbury for consideration of $1 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much, thanks. Now, what's the
Washington Street, yeah.
order of relocation of the layout pertaining to Washington Street relocation?
So this was presented to the planning board, by the planning board as part of the Complete Streets Tier 3 grant program. In September of last year, this board voted to refer it to the planning board. On January 8th, the planning board discussed at a posted meeting and voted unanimously to recommend approval of the relocation of the layout on Washington Street. And tonight, we have a proposed motion for the board to vote on the order of relocation layout, which will generate an article, which has already generated an article for the March 24 annual town meeting. And you got a bunch of attachments and a proposed motion.
The March what?
March 9th.
March 9th.
No, I said, well, I was referring to March 2024, sorry.
Oh.
I was abbreviating the year.
Oh,
my bad.
got it.
Sorry.
All right, so,
I said that in my head.
there was, there's all these plans
Yes.
And
that
it
they're
looks like
showing that.
Kristen's joined us too.
Yeah, Kristen Rapp is here. She can help
Kristen,
explain
you
it.
wanna, outline this for us?
I'm sorry, what, Cindy?
Do you wanna outline this relocation? I was looking at the maps that were attached, and, I couldn't make any sense out of them.
Oh, they're, yes, so if you, first of all, I should probably say I'm Kristen Rapp, excuse me. I live at 20 Ryan's Lane. Yes, the maps are actually west to east. If you kind of put them sequentially, it shows you the official layout of Washington Street. Does that make any more sense, Cindy?
Yeah, no, I got that.
Okay.
I guess I couldn't see what the relocations were.
It tracks the orange stakes that are out there.
Essentially,
Right.
this is the first, in my understanding, right, is that this has never been an official public way, right? It's been basically grandfathered, for want of a better word, right? So this is the first
Yeah,
step
yeah,
of
yeah.
actually, yeah.
It's the culmination of decades of blood, sweat, and tears.
That's right.
This is a pretty historic event, actually.
It-
Think
it-
about
It's never been surveyed
Actually,
in its entirety.
My understanding is that Washington Street has been a public way, but what this actually does is this actually is called a relocation plan rather than a layout plan.
Right, so it actually confirms that it's a public way then.
Right, and it involves no
Right.
takings.
Yeah.
But
It involves no takings?
No takings.
But since there was never a layout plan, I'm a little confused how it can be a relocation of a layout plan. It seems to me that this is the layout.
It's
but-
simply the naming, it's simply
It's
the legal
just a-
naming
yeah.
convention.
That's what it's called, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And can I just confirm that this has been vetted to the public? Wasn't there some public meetings, and this has been on,
Several.
display so that
Yep.
anybody who had an issue or didn't agree with the lines had an ability to
Yep.
see it and talk about it?
And the stakes have been out there for months.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Still there.
Yep.
It's kind of nice looking at them.
And this
Yeah,
is the
they're
first
pretty.
step that's necessary before we can consider where sidewalks would go.
Right.
Yeah,
Right, and I
fantastic.
think, I listened to the Finance Committee meeting the other night, and I think one of the things that, a lot of people have a lot of opinions about this, but from what I hear, and what I'm told by a lot of residents in town, is that people really want a more user-friendly way to walk around in town. And, the people voted this in at town meeting. And
That's
so,
correct.
I think,
It's good.
We'll see
I
what
think it's,
happens.
I think it's good.
great.
So,
And we can use state funding to build the first section.
and I think it's great that, it has been open to the public for anybody who may have had an issue with any of these lines.
So I have a question. If if we accept this, then the next step is to look into a sidewalks. Is there enough room within this public way that has had no takings to provide sidewalks along the length of Washington Street?
It's my understanding that this is the layout. It's possible that there might be a fence or some things that might have to get moved as we go along, but I think right now, this is, all that you have to do is just accept this as a layout, and then we work through any details as we move forward.
No, yeah, okay, I understand. I was just trying to take the next step. Okay.
Yeah.
One step at a time, Madam Chair.
I was just asking a question. Okay, any other questions from anybody?
Just a comment to thank everybody involved in this process, because literally it's the first time it's been done in the history of the town. It's such an old street with lots of deeds that had to be sifted through, and there literally tons and tons and tons of work that was done for this. And I'm delighted personally to be sitting on this side when we get to the finish line, at least in terms of the layout, and see it to its conclusion. So thanks to everybody. It's a terrific outcome.
Yeah, great. All right.
I move that the Select Board adopt the order of relocation of layout of Washington Street as follows. Order of relocation of layout Washington Street. Whereas the Select Board of the Town of Duxbury, acting pursuant to General Law, Chapter 82, Sections 21 through 24, having deemed that common convenience and necessity require the relocation of the layout as a public way of Washington Street, hereby relocates the layout of Washington Street as a town way as shown on the plan referenced below. And whereas the boundaries of said way as relocated are shown on a plan entitled Relocation Right-of-Way Plan, Washington Street, Duxbury, Massachusetts, dated August 18th, 2023, prepared by Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors, 18 sheets, which plan was referred to the Planning Board, and which plan is hereby adopted as a part of this order, and all land lying within the above described boundaries of Washington Street is hereby laid out as a town way. The aforementioned relocation plan is hereby forwarded to the town clerk for filing, and the foregoing relocated layout is hereby reported to the town for acceptance. Adopted January 22nd, 2024, signed by the Town of Duxbury's Select Board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You too. Whatever's left of it. Not much. Okay. A utility pole request on Oak Street.
Correct. On Wednesday, January 17th, a public hearing was held in my office to review a petition by Verizon New England and NStar Electric to request the placement of one jointly owned pole at 236 Oak Street. And the purpose of the proposed pole is to provide direct singular access to the lots located across the street. The minutes were attached to the memo, and you have a motion with 10 conditions before you. We recommend approval.
So I have a couple of questions on this. I'm really familiar with my neighborhood, and I'm trying to understand why is there too much distance between two poles so it necessitates an additional pole? Because this is a tough spot.
Yes, but it's not because of the span from one existing pole to the other. It's because when they cross the road, they don't want to have to go across another property to do it. They want to use one pole. I'm looking at the map, which is why I'm not looking at you. The proposed pole in the middle, they can go off of that straight into the 221 property or straight into the 306 property rather than having to cross over either one of them. It's to provide direct access.
Okay, because this road, it's super narrow. Did you actually drive, did you? It's a tricky spot to put an additional pole. But
Okay. What do I know about this as far as what the necessities are, but it seems like you could have just gone from pole 245 across the street and from the other pole across the street.
I thought the same, but that was not what their proposal is.
Okay. Any other questions?
I might not vote in favor. I would like to understand, you know, more the reasoning behind why we need an additional pole there, other than, you know, because it does seem to, we all seem to think that it does make more sense in another direction, but.
Where are you thinking of putting the
Well, why can't this pole service this and this pole service that? Why do we need an additional one in between?
to service 306 and 221? Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. That is the reason.
But there's already two there, so how does that
Yeah.
third one help that?
I don't know what's on the load for those other two existing poles.
Did they explain it in there? No.
No.
No, there was a public hearing. Who received notice of, did the abutters get something in the mail?
Yep.
Did any of them show up?
No.
Okay.
They never do.
I'll move it, unless you guys want to talk about it.
I'm just looking at the minutes to see if there was anything there.
No, there isn't. I wrote them.
Yeah, I read through everything, and I couldn't really find any reason behind it, so I was.
It was what I had said earlier, that they didn't want to cross over, and it's to
Yeah.
service those two lots across the street. They didn't want to have a cross connection going from one pole crossing a property on another one.
Well, I don't know. They must have a reason. It costs them money to do that, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Do you want-
I
any
don't, I don't see a motion, but I'll move that we.
Oh, it's there. It says 10 conditions. It's all in bold, but you can just say, I move to approve with the 10 conditions as presented by staff, and that'll get you there faster.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
One abstention. Right here, doesn't make a difference. All right. Discussion and possible votes, select board article recommendations.
Exactly. Do you all have a copy of the warrant? If you don't have one, I have hard copies of the new one that I published.
Oh, yeah, I'll take a hard copy of the new
Town
one.
When did you publish this one?
That was the one I sent out on Friday.
Yep.
Friday, yeah.
And
Does
this
anyone need a
one,
copy?
this is a lot easier to read than what you've got in the packet. The one-liners.
The big one?
The one-liners.
Reminders that you don't need a magnifying glass.
So what I'll do is I'll draw your attention first to.
Rainey, can I have a hard copy of the warrant?
Yeah, cool.
Anybody else need one?
Thank you. You gave up your copy.
Yeah, that's all
I
right.
brought 300. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, I did.
Just for you.
Hopefully this year it doesn't
Anybody else?
change
Yeah.
2 or 3 times.
Thank you.
Oh, excuse me.
That's Friday.
I didn't sleep last
All right. So with the one-liners, just to kind of run through it, you've got 32 articles.
Yep.
The Finance Committee's voted on several, they voted on all but, what is it, 12 articles?
They did it all in one night?
Yes. Some of them are repeats, like the first 12,
I know.
13, they're all kind of rather,
They're
I won't say they're benign, but
straightforward,
they're standard fare, you see them every year.
Yeah.
One thing I will do, though, is I will draw your attention to Article 24 right out of the gate, because I do need you to make a motion on this one. Actually, no, I don't. I just realized I don't need you to vote it. We're swapping the language out on Article 24, which relates to Washington Street.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
We didn't close it
Because
yet.
I didn't have the final language.
We didn't close this yet, so.
I know.
You couldn't have it.
I had proposed a motion to go with it. It's on the second page. Disregard. Swapping it out. Now you know what the old language is. You got the new language, so you don't need to vote that. Well, we'll do that in a second. So what I wanted to know is, before I ask you to vote to close it, I know the hour. I didn't know how familiar any of you were with the articles in the warrant, if you've had a chance to attend any of the Finance Committee meetings. If you have any questions, what I'm asking you is, are you comfortable voting positions on any of the articles that are in the warrant tonight? I know that typically you like to wait and see what the finance committee's done first, and in this case, you can see what they've done.
I also watched a little bit.
There's electronic balloting, right? I mean, that's the same one every year.
Yep.
I did the 4th of July,
4th of July,
educational cable access.
yeah, that's the same. We've already reviewed the North Hill Country, we voted on that one.
Correct.
Yep.
What were you saying about Washington Street? We could vote on that tonight, yes?
You don't, no. I was just giving you the new language. I had to switch the language.
Switching up the language from what he sent us on Friday.
Yeah, in the previous version, it was the wrong language, but now you've got the new, and it'll be amended as such.
Is there going to be an article for the grant matching funds? Or is that going to be in the
That's in the
special?
Special, yeah.
And are we doing the 250?
No, it's a lesser amount. 200.
I'm trying to squeeze out 200.
Yeah.
You know why? Because we're right up.
No,
to
I
level.
know, but that money is,
I know, but.
when we need it, we need it.
Wow.
So, again, that's the special, but we're not doing that one tonight. That'll be a future meeting. But if you guys are comfortable, you're more than welcome to vote perhaps the ones that the Finance Committee's already voted, or if you have more information. It's entirely up to you.
Madam Chair, can I just ask, and Mr. Hayes has been kind to sit here for a couple hours, will we be taking up Article 17?
You will.
tonight?
Not tonight. Well, you could, but I know that the Finance Committee is scheduling, any of the blanks that you see,
Yeah.
the Finance Committee is in the process of scheduling any of the proponents of the sponsors of those articles to appear
Well, and I
before them
wouldn't
next week or in the days thereafter.
And I wouldn't do that without the Conservation Commission, CPC here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it possible, Rennie, to get the Finance Committee schedule so that we can?
Yeah, once it's
Attend.
set. Has it been set yet?
So
We're still working on it.
It's not finalized, but what I'm trying to do is get the presenters for all of these remaining articles to
Yes.
come in on either January 30th or February 1st. So that's
January
the
30th.
Tuesday and Thursday. So those will hopefully be very full meetings.
Right, so both January the 30th
next
and
week, yeah.
February 1st, right?
And I knew you wanted that, Fernando, but once we get it done, I'll shoot it over to you.
Yeah,
I'll shoot it
good.
to all of you.
Thank you.
And there are some that you're gonna try to schedule for our meetings as well?
Yes, you had asked for,
We can, yeah, I mean, I can,
you had asked for 3, 4, or 5 of them to come in here as well, which I'm happy to do.
unless there's, if there's one of them, or, two, if, say, something's going before the Finance Committee, and these are volunteers, and we can all be there and post it.
Do a 2 for 1.
If it's I don't like it that way, but if it's one, I mean, some of these are driven by us. Or sponsored
Yeah.
by us. I think it's
PFAS,
more,
perfect example.
or yeah, even the historic, I mean, that's not a
Historic.
finance.
Historic, beach lease, those are all under your roof.
I'd like to,
Yeah.
you're saying come here, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, it's our
I
province.
don't disagree, and I don't know why, I know you don't like it that way, but I do, I think it is, for time management, again, these are volunteers, we're basically, everybody's volunteering. Why have multiple presentations on the same article? It just makes sense to all be listening to the same presentation at the same time, if at all possible.
If at all possible.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, I know that they're recorded.
Right, but we
But it
have to take
doesn't-
a position, and they have to take a position. I don't know, it just
But
seems,
if you're just listening to a recording, it doesn't provide you the opportunity to ask any questions.
exactly. And
So
I
that
go to
said,
the finance
if
committee.
we
Well, I know, but I
post-
can't, not everybody can
It is
go.
hard,
every
that's why I'm
Tuesday.
saying if
There
we
are
can
certain
try
things that I
to
think
do
are
it all at
different
once.
questions that we're gonna have than the Finance Committee's.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, because we were in problems with this last year, and it ain't gonna happen again this year.
Yeah.
The Finance Committee's driving the bus on their show, not this week, but next, when they
Yeah.
start meeting to look at these. Do you want to be posted with them? Because that will have an impact on staff, because we'll have to have somebody there for minutes.
No.
I'd like to see a vote,
I'm planning to be in as many of the
because it will allow
finance
you to
committee.
vote on articles that night, right there in the room. You won't have to come back here and do it again. You can be done right there.
Remember one time,
don't
Amy,
think so.
you took.
I
the,
took notes, and
Amy
I
took
did,
notes and recorded our votes.
Yeah.
But I need to know.
That was
Do you
last
want to be
year.
posted? I want
Yeah.
a show of hands, please.
post, why not post
I
them?
don't know.
I'd like,
I
I'd
just
like
don't
a
know what
motion
they're
and a
going.
show of hands, because I will not get into the same problem we had last year.
Yeah.
I need the clarity. I need it.
Well, we also had different issues last year because we had the capital, the seawall, and we had the things
Yeah.
like that.
Well, now you got PFAS, so you got other big things.
Correct.
You know,
But
I'm happy to do whatever
I'm
you
just
want.
interested to know what finance is taking up and having as presenters, because I think that would help me understand.
The
as-
ones that and that's why I give you this. The ones that they're taking up are the ones where they don't have a vote yet. So there's only a dozen articles left.
Yeah, so they're doing over 2 nights, the 30th and the 1st, I've heard.
That is correct. I can tell you that I am planning on the PFAS discussion, so Articles 14 and 15, for that to be on Tuesday, the 30th.
Tuesday, the 30th, okay.
So they're going to have to go to them and, or they're not coming here at all?
That's up to you guys. That's what I need you to decide.
Oh, boy, I know,
I just don't know why they're.
I mean, I would prefer to have that come here, I mean, I would like to be able, I'm not,
You can ask them to do both. That's what they do. They're you guys.
I mean, it was a select board
It is.
article.
It is,
Right.
and you've asked them to do that stuff for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 14 and 15 here. And I must admit, I too, Mike, the historic districts, both of those.
which ones?
20 and 21.
Yeah, and the,
The town-owned property,
yes,
number
correct.
17.
One's an amendment to the bylaw and the other one's to the districts.
Yes.
So,
And I don't know why we wouldn't hear the CPC articles.
correct.
Oh, we should hear all the, I absolutely think we should hear all the articles. I'm
I
just
mean, they've
trying to
already voted on
consolidate.
them, but I don't,
Some were just,
With the exception of one.
Yeah, the only one that they haven't is the rehab of the Girl Scout house.
Yeah, there was a reason for that. They were
They
looking
didn't have the
for.
dollar amount.
What?
They didn't have the dollar amount yet.
Oh,
I mean, we're gonna have to go back and, we're gonna have to vote on those here anyhow, because we weren't.
Oh, you're gonna have to vote them all. Yeah,
So-
you have this way, if we post, you'll have the opportunity to vote on them at that meeting, and that's what I need to know if you want to do that.
I'm not sure I want to do that.
No, I don't think I want to.
they propose,
Okay.
Don't be making any motions.
What?
I told them, don't be making any motions.
No, I mean, I just,
yeah.
Great.
I can't promise I can be there on those nights. I don't
Understood.
know.
Agreed.
Understood.
And,
we don't have to vote, yeah. It just leaves us the ability, if we post the meetings, then we can ask a question or we can talk about it. But that's all I'm suggesting, is that we open it up so that we can ask questions, or we
just heard
post the
3
meetings.
people
We don't
say
have to
no.
make any decisions.
Well, you can ask questions as an individual.
Yeah, no, I do. I try to ask
Put a
questions.
Forum there.
As long as we don't, if we're attending and if there's three of us attending, we don't deliberate, we can ask questions.
right, you can ask questions, right.
And we're
You can
not making
deliberate.
any decisions.
We're
We'll
not
bring
making
it back
decisions,
here.
So we don't need to post.
So
Good.
So so we are not posting.
I think we should always post, but, all right.
Please put that in the minutes. No need to post.
They didn't vote on I believe they're looking for some information on the Wright Building in terms of,
Whether they agree with the concept
no, I think
And
the
then
Wright
also-
Building was wasn't the.
was to determine if it already had enough historic preservation
If there
stuff
are
attached to it.
already
Yeah.
some restrictions on that property. And then I was also wanted to ask you, in regards to the Bluefish Fire Station, I remember Mrs. Bennett, Nancy Bennett, had some concerns, and I know you were working with her, and I just didn't know where that was left off.
It just ended. Nothing ever came back up.
Okay.
I think it'd be
The
good to
proposal
have
is
them
to
in
add
here.
it.
I think they're
So
very
I've got
excited to
Articles
present it.
14, 15, 20, and 21 coming into this room
Yes,
to meet
please.
with you at a future date.
And 17.
And 17, okay.
Yeah.
Got my list.
Yes, I do. I'll put plus Mike.
As well as 25 through 31.
Yep. You guys want all the CPC articles in here? You want the CPC in here?
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Mhm, Yes.
I think so.
I mean, some of them are just pro forma, but,
Yes.
yes.
So tonight, we can do some voting, can't we, though?
You can, whatever you're comfortable with.
Rainey,
Go for it.
your
Yes.
spreadsheet here.
Yes.
Your notes for 17, can you just note that the cemetery trustees need to be notified on this as well?
Oh, yeah, they already know that. Trust me.
Right.
Yeah, thank
Right,
you.
can we vote on the reports?
Feel free.
I don't think there are any.
Oh, the reports, no, you don't vote on that one, I'm sorry.
Don't vote on that one.
Yep.
Conversation of elected officials.
It's a conflict of interest.
Yeah, with the,
You're doing good tonight. I think it's 9:20.
Do we need to,
Keep on going.
do we need to vote? We don't need to vote on anything tonight, do we?
You don't want to?
just a second.
Was it getting too late?
It's just too
Let's let
late.
him clean up the calendar of what we're gonna.
Do you have a page,
It's too late. I'm too
what page
tired.
is your document start with? What, your right thumb, what page is it on?
Article- Article 1?
And what
Yeah,
page is
no.
your left thumb on? Okay,
Can
good.
we not
I got a
vote
bad
on,
version.
on 24, the proposed relocation and layout of Washington Street? We just
Yeah,
voted on
let's
that.
do that.
Come on,
Hold on, I had a wrong page.
let's vote on
Well,
that one.
that
If you don't
actually
mind
might
doing
have
it in
a.
order, it'd be easier for me. Thank you.
If what?
If you could just do it in order, like 1 through 32,
1 through 32.
whether you're ready to vote on them or not, if you don't mind. Just
Oh, just saying yes or no?
sequential. Yeah, if you're going to vote on them.
Okay.
Well, I can say that
I was-
electronic balloting is $20,000. It was
By the way,
supported by.
let me back you up. On Article 3, you do vote it. You just don't take positions on the ones that
I've already
are.
told,
Yeah, I watched it,
yeah,
so.
we can vote on number 3,
You can,
we can vote number 2, we can vote number 3,
yes.
we can vote electronic balloting, we can vote on 4th of July appropriation, we can vote on educational cable access and technology.
How can we vote on that?
It's a standard,
There's,
It's
the
a,
first 12, 13 articles are all standard,
they're all standard,
Standard, okay.
and the
educational
explanations are
cable.
right there.
yeah.
the,
Read them.
and the education cable access, if we go to that, is money that comes out of our cable bills. It sits in a fund, and
Oh, okay.
the schools have asked for it for what it's for.
You can do 16, because poor Sheila's been sitting here.
Nope, we can't do that one.
No.
The dollar amount is not known at this time.
Yeah, we don't have the dollar.
Can we do the North Hill Country Club management lease?
Yes.
Yeah,
Because we voted on that one.
if you don't. All right.
You ready to start?
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it.
And then we can vote on 24, proposed relocation of the layout.
You want to move those ones that you just mentioned?
Yeah, do we want to jump right in? So
Yeah.
we're going to go for
3.
reports as the first one?
Yeah,
We don't have.
So I move that the select board recommend approval.
There's,
Sure.
we have, I
Recommend
gave you guys a motion.
approval to town meeting on Article 2.
Um, Okay.
Article 2 reports.
Yep, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move that the select board recommend to town meeting approval of Article 3, compensation of elected officials.
Second. You said we can vote on this?
I would amend that to say only the
for,
Other than our
Other than our own.
positions,
other than the asterisk numbers, yes.
yes.
other than the select board. Yep.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Don't do 4, 5, 6,
Number 9 is the next one.
7, or 8. Yep, number 9.
I move that the select board recommend approval to town meeting for Article 9, electronic balloting.
Make sure I get to that.
The Duxbury Beach lease, that's $1 million bucks as last, oops, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Duxbury
It's-
Beach lease is the same as last year.
Mike would like to wait on that one.
Okay,
I would too.
thanks, Mike.
No, I would
4th of
too. I want
July.
on
Yeah.
that.
Okay, good.
11?
I move to recommend approval of Article 11 to town meeting, the 4th of July appropriation.
Second.
Do we have an amount on this, or
25,000.
20 something.
what is it?
25,000.
25,000. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain. I move that the select board recommend approval to town meeting of Article 12, educational cable access and technology.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move that the select board recommend approval to town meeting of Article 13, North Hill Country Club management lease.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
24.
Okay, I move that the Select Board recommend approval to town meeting of Article 24, proposed relocation of the layout of Washington Street.
Second. Enthusiastic second.
As amended with the new language that we received
Yeah,
tonight.
using the, thank you, Mike.
Thank you, yes, as amended.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we're just,
Don't worry about it.
As amended, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is that it?
Nope.
No.
What?
You can vote on
Can I ask for mine to be done?
18 and 19.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
18 and 19.
Going to
19
18.
at least, but I
It's
think-
the acceptance of Mass General Law to allow trust funds to be invested by way of the Massachusetts Prudent Investor Act.
We didn't have a presentation on that.
We have never talked about
We
that.
never talked about that.
Okay,
can
would you
right
like me
now.
to talk about it?
Yeah, you can right now. That's what we're here for.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You're here.
Very, very quickly, with the governor signed the most recent state budget, there were some municipal finance provisions that were also included with the intent of making life better for municipal finance professionals to do some housekeeping. This is one of them. Without this change right now, our trust funds, which is our longest-term investments, those are the ones that we should be focusing on, longest-term investment strategies. Those funds right now are limited to only be invested using what is called the Massachusetts Legal List. It essentially lists 12 investments that we can utilize to invest our trust funds, and that's it. By adopting this new provision under Mass General Law, it allows us to utilize the prudent investor rule, which is opens up the entire portfolio of vehicles that we can invest our trust funds in. And the idea, obviously, is higher yields. So this is a housekeeping matter. We need to readopt the provisions of Mass General Law in order to accept that.
Okay.
And the Finance Committee supported this, I see.
Correct.
And then Brian pulled a face there when he heard about the,
Oh, the legal list? Yeah,
Legal
that's
list.
pretty,
It's very dated and it's
yeah.
very
And
You
limited.
wouldn't want your retirement in there, let's put it that way.
Correct.
And just because I brought this up yearly since I've been on the board, because the Finance Committee members had mentioned it to me quite a while ago, is that it used to be the practice that, I think it was Rockland Trust who does our investments, would come in once a year to the Select Board and give a presentation on how they were investing the town's money, and I have advocated for that. I think it would be helpful to know, and I think it would be good.
Rockland
so-
Trust has offered numerous times. I've already had them in twice to meet with me.
Oh,
I'm happy to schedule it when you guys have some time.
Great.
Yeah, I think we'd
Absolutely.
all like
They
to
are
do that. Is that a
very-
consensus?
Sure.
Thank you, Mary.
Absolutely.
Okay, I will move to recommend that the Select Board, to recommend to town meeting the acceptance of Article 18, acceptance of Mass General Law to allow trust funds to be invested via the Massachusetts Prudent Investor Act.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And you wanted us to do
The next one,
19.
19
Article
as
19,
well?
which you'll find on page 34 of the warrant. What it is amendment to the general bylaw. Authorized revolving funds, what we're doing is we're striking out the regional dispatch services revolving fund since it's no longer necessary, since the ROC is now an enterprise fund.
Is that the
Right.
only change?
That is
Okay.
the only change.
Striking.
All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so not adding or changing.
There's no
anything
new
else.
language, no.
Okay.
I move that the Select Board recommend to town meeting the approval of Article 19, General Bylaw Amendment, proposed removal of revolving funds.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What about Cooper Hill? What was,
The next one would be Article 22, and that's on page 38, which is basically the Nuclear Advisory Committee article. This was actually presented last year. There's some slight wording changes. Mary will go over those, but it's just seeking support of the voters at town meeting to support the initiative.
does anybody have any questions about that one?
No.
Concerns?
No.
No.
I'll
Okay.
move that the Select Board recommend to town meeting the approval of Article Number 22, Town of Duxbury support of off-site storage spent nuclear fuel.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next would be Article 23 on page 39, which is the proposed acceptance of Cooper Hill Road as a town way. We received a request from Kevin Sealand asking that the town accept it as a town way. After extensive review by both this board, the planning board, it was determined Cooper Hill Road was constructed in accordance with Mass General Law and the Planning Board's rules and regs governing roadway construction, and the articles met all the statutory filing deadlines, and as such is being presented to the voters for consideration.
And I would note that this is different than
Yes.
Dogwood Drive.
I just want to get clear, because we've had so many of these.
Yeah.
This is the one that the board was okay with, correct?
Correct.
This was the one, it was made very clear in everything that we were provided, that from the initial concept of this plan, this road was always built in accordance with every rule and reg to get approved. There was no waivers, there was no,
nothing.
right?
Okay.
Yeah, I see Allison's on the call, she wants to speak to it, not to put her on the spot, but.
Okay, but again, there was quite a few, right, that we were.
This
we
was
were
a
quite-
good one. This was a thumbs
Yeah, I know,
up.
I just
Yes.
double checking.
This was
Yeah.
done in a way
Good.
that it wouldn't cause
Right.
issues. And
Okay.
of course, given one of the other issues with Dogwood Drive is its location,
Yeah.
right on the Pembroke line. This one, of course, right in the middle of town. So DPW had a concern with the other one, that it was so
Yes.
distant. So this one doesn't have the issues that Dogwood Drive did.
Right, okay.
Well, for me, it's all about the intent of the developer at the very inception of the plan, and whether it is being presented and built in accordance with every rule and regulation set forth by the town for a public way that is to be accepted. And it appears that this was that. So I will move that the Select Board recommend approval to town meeting of Article Number 23, proposed acceptance of Cooper Hill Road as a townway.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the last one I've got for this evening would be Article 32, which is actually on page 43, which is rescinding Article 16 from the March 23 annual town meeting, which established a climate action planning task force. I spoke to Wendell about this, he's in agreement. It's basically getting rid of that because they realize that the two groups that we have right now are adequate.
And this requires a vote from town meeting as opposed to just a waving of the wand by the town manager?
I don't know, I thought it'd be better to go the formal route because it's in the minutes and it just.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine.
it was created at town meeting.
Okay,
and-
all right, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then people could understand why it's.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was confused on this because, it talks about a climate action planning task force. This isn't in any way reflective of us not addressing climate.
No.
This was a committee and a task force that was brought forth by the,
By
The-
Wendell, right? By
The Alternative Energy
Alternative
Committee is doing it in-house.
yeah.
Great.
So it's, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I will make a motion that the Select Board recommend approval to town meeting of Article Number 32 to rescind Article 16 from the 323 all-town meeting, establishment of a climate action planning task force.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. So by the looks of it, in addition to the PFAS and the DPW and the CPC and the Historic District, we also need to add Duxbury Beach Lease as well.
Yeah, and the Conservation Commission.
And yeah.
Yeah, I've got a list. Yep,
Got a
we're
list.
good. That's what I needed, thank you.
Do you need us to do the small equipment, the small capital light?
Is it in here?
That was approved.
Actually, yeah, you know what, I do. Article 7, that's right, you can do Article 7.
When?
Let's see.
I haven't looked at Capital Light.
Okay. That is
I
on
mean,
page 26, if you're comfortable.
Why would we be able to do that?
I was just wondering.
It's only $56,000, and it's already been approved by the Finance Committee and myself.
We could watch it and then approve it next meeting.
Yeah.
They did.
Let's do it at the next meeting.
Okay.
It was their January 16th meeting.
But I wasn't there.
I know. I was just saying for the next meeting, you could watch
The
the January.
Oh, I
fiscal
can watch it, but I
advisory
can't.
looks at Capital Light, right?
No.
So did they?
No, they do not. I do in the Finance Committee. Mary and I, excuse me.
Capital Light.
Yeah.
All right.
They look
so,
at Article 6.
Hasn't it historically been?
No, Article
Oh.
6.
It's Article 6, the big one, the fiscal.
Yeah.
Capital Light is finance.
Okay.
So if you guys are comfortable, then I would ask you to kindly use the motion that I provided you, please.
Vote to close the.
Close it.
annual
So
town
it was
meeting
your
warrant.
It's
amended,
specific.
is your amended
Don't
language?
worry about that one. This is the motion, trust me.
No, I understand, but I want to make sure that your amended language
What
is
is he
in
asking
before
me
we
to do?
vote that.
Yeah, we are good.
Okay.
Yes, we are good.
Do you have that?
We're
No.
closing what?
What am I doing?
The ATM
don't
warrant with
know.
this motion right here.
Okay, you want to pass it down?
Pass down.
Thank you.
Not like last year.
No.
I don't remember what last year
We
was.
kept reopening,
Oh, we
or 2 years
opened
ago.
it up
Oh, hell, I've
about
had to
10
do
times.
this. Heck, I've had to do that many, many times. Many times. Years ago, did it all the time.
I move to vote that the Select Board close the March 9th, 2024 annual town meeting warrant, subject to the inclusion of finalized figures to be included in Article 5, operating budget, and Article 6, capital budget, prior to publication and posting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Bingo, thank you.
Town managers report.
That was it.
That was it.
I don't remember closing it
That's all.
contingent upon something.
Announcement?
I know you haven't, and
Some good
I knew you'd say
announcements.
that, and I asked the council, I said, listen, I got a problem.
Yeah, I
Two
don't
articles
ever
aren't
remember
fini-
doing that, Rainey.
Aren't finished, and I said, it's Articles 5 and 6, and he said, not a problem, just make it contingent upon that. I said, fine. He said, it'll save you having to open the warrant later. I said, perfect. Because I didn't want to have to reopen it. I wanted one and done. So, that's how we sealed that. But thank
Well,
you.
if town council says it's okay,
Yep, in fact, he was proud of me for the way I worded the article.
Nice, okay, do we have any?
Thank you, that was it.
Any announcements?
Oh, my God, I don't know if I can talk anymore tonight.
do you want me to
Hold
go
on.
ahead and stand in there for you?
Yes, please.
Where are they?
Here, let me get it.
There's a whole boatload of them.
Where are they?
Here you go, Fernando.
Here, I'll get them up. I've got it here.
Let's go to my iMac.
So what it is, announcements,
Go for it.
it's on the agenda, isn't it? Okay. The waiting
I got
list
one
for
too.
commercial mussel and razor clam licenses. The waiting list for commercial mussel and razor clam licenses are posted in the Select Board's office for interested residents. A reminder for those individuals already on the waiting list for commercial mussel and razor clam licenses must renew their application annually within the month of January. The following offices will be on the ballot for the election on March 23, 2024. 2 Select Board members for a term of 3 years. 1 assessor for the term of 3 years. 1 school committee member for the term of 3 years. 2 planning board members for a term of 5 years. 2 library trustees for a term of 3 years. 1 library trustee for an unexpired term of 2 years. Nomination papers available in town clerk's office and are due back to town clerk by Saturday, February 3rd, 2024. A candidate must obtain 50 signatures certified by the town clerk to appear on the ballot. Vote by mail. Voting by mail is available for all elections. The Secretary of State's offices will be mailing vote by mail applications to all voters registered as of January the 5th, 2024. If you would like to vote by mail for elections scheduled during the 2024 calendar year, please return a completed signed application to the town clerk's office. A ballot will be sent as soon as they are available. Currently scheduled elections in the 2024 are the presidential primary on March 5th, the annual town election on March 23rd, the state primary on September 3rd, and the presidential election on November 5th. Census. The 2024 annual town census has been mailed. Please take a moment to sign the form, making changes if necessary, and return it to the town clerk's office. This information will be used to compile the annual street list. No voter can be added to the voting rolls using this census. To register to vote, please visit the office to complete a voter registration card or register online at www.sec.state.ma.us. Per Mass General Law, failure to return the census shall result in removal from the active voting list. 2024 dog licenses. 2023 dog licenses expired December 31st. A mail-in renewal form will be included with the annual census for those wishing to renew a dog license by mail. Licenses may also be purchased at the town clerk's office or by using the online ordering system. A link to the online payment center can be found on the town's website at www.town.duxbury.ma.us. Dog licenses are $17 for intact animals. All right. $12 for spayed or neutered animals, and free for pet owners 70 years of age or older. The next Select Board meeting will be on Monday, January the 29th, 2024, at 7 p.m.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I
Mary,
think
just
we
shoot us
can
a note.
get a motion to,
Adjourn. So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.